Chapter 4262. White Lion, who had originally been rather optimistic, fell silent after hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words. Indeed, there were too many uncertain factors. No one knew what the situation would be until the end. Master, perhaps Beichen's awakened power is not the dark attribute. Xiao Bai also came over. Perhaps the situation is not as bad as we think. I hope so. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed. However, she felt that Di Beichen had obtained the inheritance of the dark attribute when so many people had fought for it. This point alone was enough to prove many things. She was not someone who worried for nothing, but she was also not blindly optimistic. There were indeed many signs in this. However, things would cross that bridge when they came to it. No matter what the situation was, she believed that there would always be a solution. Furthermore, it would be fine as long as they were together. Even if the road ahead was difficult, so what? There was still nearly half a month before the new disciples' competition. During this period, Bailey Hongzhuang cultivated peacefully in the Blazing Flames sect. Now, many people were filled with curiosity about her. In addition, the Di family could come knocking at her door at any time. She did not want to cause any unnecessary trouble, so she simply stayed in the house and did not go out. At the moment, she did not know her own attributes, so she could not research in this area. However, Bailey Hongzhuang put more of her experience in the newly opened stone room. Speaking of which, this stone room had been open for quite a long time, but she had not been able to figure out the use of the method written on it. After comprehending for a long time, she vaguely felt that it was related to the desert world and the ocean world that she had explored. However, as for the specific relationship, she felt that she was about to comprehend it, but there was still some distance between them. What does this have to do with the desert world and the ocean world? This is really strange. Bailey Hongzhuang looked puzzled. All along, she had felt that her comprehension was not bad. However, she had not expected that after comprehending for so long this time, she still could not completely comprehend it. This made her feel somewhat helpless. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang was deep in thought, there was a sudden knock on the door. As she opened the door, she saw Wan Yanhan and Yi Haomiao as expected. However, after noticing their complicated expressions, she couldn't help but ask, "The Di family is here?" Wan Yanhan nodded slightly. Not bad. They've just arrived in Rome and city, and they're already on their way to the Raging Flames sect. I'm afraid there'll be trouble soon. Fortunately, we are in the Blazing Flames school. Even if they come, they won't dare to attack us directly. A complicated look flashed across Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes, but her expression was very calm. Don't worry too much. Steward Wu has already promised us. He will naturally appear when the Di family comes. I hope so. The worry in Yi Haomiao's eyes did not disappear. This matter is still a little worrying. I don't know if the Di family will exert pressure. If Steward Wu can't handle it, it will be terrible. Wan Yanhan shook his head and said, I don't think so. That would be underestimating the Raging Flames sect's ability. Although the Di family has a certain level of strength, they can't challenge the Raging Flames sect in Rome and city. It will be fine as long as Steward Wu doesn't change his mind. Chapter 4263. Not long after Bailey Hongzhuang and the others came out, the Di family cultivators, led by Yan Xiangming and the others, walked into the Fiery Flames sect in a grandiose manner. Many people from the Di family came this time. One look and I can tell that they are not weak. I'm afraid Wan Yanhan and the others are in trouble now. That's right. They should have expected this outcome when the incident happened. Now that they have chosen to stay in the Fiery Flames sect, aren't they waiting for them to come knocking on their door? I'm afraid there will be a show to watch today. Judging from the Di family's lineup, they will not rest until they kill Wan Yanhan and the other two. Such a huge commotion immediately attracted a large number of cultivators, especially after seeing the other party's grandiose lineup. Everyone could not help but exclaim inwardly. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two, who were standing nearby, naturally noticed this scene as well. Their expressions could not help but change. It seems that the D family values Di Wentao quite a lot. They actually sent so many people. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her long, shapely eyebrows slightly. She crossed her arms in front of her chest with a somewhat playful expression. Wan Yanhan's gaze was solemn. I'm afraid they are not only doing this for Di Wentao but also for their family's reputation. After all, they dared to kill Di Wentao, which means that they are not taking them seriously. Naturally, they are here to teach them a lesson. Yan Xiangming and the other two are really concerned about this matter. I'm afraid that they have already received the Di family the moment they arrived. Yi Haomiao looked at Yan Xiangming and the other two with an unfriendly gaze. These guys were really too detestable. They have always been like this. Now that they are worried that the Di family will blame them for this, they are naturally even more anxious. Bailey Hongzhuang sneered. In fact, Yan Xiangming and the other two were indeed thinking this way. They knew very well that Di Wentao had died in front of them. To put it bluntly, he had been angered to death by them. If they had not told Di Wentao that Bailey Hongzhuang had stayed in the Fiery Flame sect, Di Wentao would not have died. What they were most worried about now was others discovering this, so they could only think of ways to divert all the contradictions to Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. After seeing Wan Yanhan and the other two, Yan Xiangming couldn't help but say, it's them. They were the ones who crippled Wen Tao's cultivation, causing his death. As soon as Yan Xiangming finished speaking, the cultivators of the Di family immediately locked their gazes on Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two. Their gazes also became hostile. It's you guys. The aura of the leader of the Di family men immediately rose. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two were shocked to discover that the other party's cultivation level was at least at the 8th level of the Star Radiance realm. A cultivator with such a cultivation base would definitely have an extremely shocking combat strength. Faced with the other party's questioning, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two did not cower. They simply stood where they were and nodded. Since everyone knew about this, they naturally couldn't deny it. However, after seeing their attitude, the other party could not help but become even angrier. I am Di Wentao's elder brother. My name is Devaus. You killed Wentao, so I want you to pay with your blood. As soon as he finished speaking, the other party wanted to attack them with his palm. Upon seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two quickly retreated and avoided the other party's attack range. Wu Zhe. Chapter 42-64. Hearing the words of the person behind him, Di Wuze finally stopped what he was doing. He gloomily glanced at Wan Yanhan and the other two before coldly saying, I'll let you off for now. But just you wait, I'll definitely make you pay with your blood. As soon as the voice fell, the cultivators of the Di family all glared at Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two fiercely, and then continued to walk into the Raging Flames gate. Yan Xiangming and the other two were also gloating. They had suffered at the hands of Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two, but now that the Di family was here, they could completely turn the tables. Judging by their behavior, they should be looking for Steward Wu, Yi Haomiao said unhurriedly as he watched Yan Xiangming lead the Di family cultivators in. Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze was slightly cold. Let them go. Steward Wu will naturally deal with it. Wan Yanhan nodded. However, judging by their attitude, I am afraid that they will not give up so easily. This will depend on Steward Wu's ability. The Fiery Flame sect is huge. Since he made a promise to us previously, he will naturally be able to fulfill it. Bailey Hongzhuang looked indifferent. As the steward here, Steward Wu naturally knew the situation in the upper world better than they did. It seemed that Steward Wu had already weighed the pros and cons before recruiting her. Since he had agreed, he naturally had the ability to fulfill all of this. Wan Yanhan and Yi Haomiao exchanged a look and then nodded. Then we will leave this to Steward Wu to worry about. Those three fellows did not run away. They actually dared to stay in the fiery flame sect. They are really bold. Devao's expression was gloomy, especially when he saw the other party's nonchalant expression after seeing them. He felt even more displeased. Yan Xiangming then said, Steward Wu seems to be very protective of them. Previously, when Wen Tao was here, Steward Wu gave the title of team leader to Wan Yen Han. Because of this, Wen Tao has always been very unhappy, so he has always tried to think of ways to snatch back the title of team leader. However, in the end, Wan Yen Han took the opportunity to destroy his cultivation level. Damn it! Devao's clenched his fists. What did Wen Tao do wrong? Why did Steward Wu give the title of team leader to someone else? Di Wentao was his biological brother. He had originally planned to let Di Wentao stay here for a few years before returning. He had not expected that he would lose his life here. I don't know. Yan Xiangming shook his head. That Wan Yen Han is a cultivator from the lower realms. He should have been at the bottom of the hierarchy in the Raging Flames school. However, his cultivation talent is not bad and his speed of growth is very fast. Steward Wu might have seen that he was improving very quickly, so he did this. This guy really thinks he's a typesetter just because he's given a little bit of face. Does he think he's anything in the upper realm with his meager abilities? Is. Devao snorted. He had the guts to attack a member of the D family. He must have had a death wish. Yan Xiangming nodded repeatedly. Big brother Wu Zhe, you must kill them to avenge Wen Tao. Otherwise, Wen Tao will not die in peace. Chapter 4265. Yan Xiangming and the other two were relieved when they heard Devao's words. The Di family trusted them. As long as they insisted that Di Wentao's death was caused by Wan Yen Han and the other two, they would not have to worry about being implicated. Before long, Yan Xiangming and the Di family arrived at Steward Wu's place. Big brother Wu, Steward Wu is in this house. You can find him yourselves. It will be inconvenient for us to enter, Yan Xiangming said flatteringly. All right. Devao's nodded. You can wait nearby. We will find Steward Wu and ask for an explanation. Yes. Devao's knocked on the door immediately. Even though he was in a bad mood, his knocking was extremely loud. Bang! 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 Wu Wenfeng was well informed. He had already received the news when the Di family's cultivators had arrived at the Blazing Flame sect. When he heard the unhappy knocking on the door, he naturally knew who it was. Please come in. Just as Di Wuza was about to enter the room, his senior suddenly grabbed his hand and said with a deep voice, restrain yourself a little when you go in later. No matter what, this person is still a steward of the Blazing Flame sect. You can't show your temper in the clan. Devao's could not help but frown when he heard that. However, he still nodded. A powerful dragon could not defeat a snake in its old haunts. Although the Di family had some power, they naturally had to restrain themselves now that they had arrived at the Blazing Flame sect. After entering the house, the elder of the Di family, Di Sudong, greeted him with a smile, Steward Wu. Wu Wenfeng also greeted him with a smile. Brother Di, I apologize for not coming out to greet you. Di Sudong cupped his fists. Steward Wu is usually busy with official business. We are the ones who have disturbed you today. What are you talking about? Wu Wenfeng smiled faintly. Please take a seat. I will get someone to serve you tea. Devao's could not hold back his thoughts and wanted to get straight to the point. However, Di Sudong had already signaled him not to be anxious with his eyes. Thus, he could only hold back and not ask. After exchanging a few pleasantries, Di Sudong slowly said, Steward Wu, you should know why we are here today, right? Hearing Du Sudong's words, Wu Wenfeng sighed in his heart. Du Sudong had finally gotten to the point. If I'm not wrong, you're here for Di Wentao, right? Di Sudong nodded slightly. Wentao is a direct descendant of the Di family, yet he was killed in Rome and City. As his family, we naturally have to seek justice. I understand your thoughts. Wu Wenfeng sighed. Steward Wu, it's good that you understand. DeVos could no longer hold himself back. The culprits are in your Blazing Flames school right now. I hope you can hand them over to us. Young Master D, what do you plan to do? Of course we have to kill them. My younger brother died in their hands. If we let them live in this world, how will we explain it to my dead brother? DeVos' eyes flickered with a ruthless glint. As he thought about those fellows, his heart burned with fury. He hated that he could not take their lives right now. Di Sudong did not say anything. He only looked at Wu Wenfeng, wanting to know what kind of answer he would give. Chapter 42-66. Young Master D, I'm afraid. I can't agree to this. Wu Wenfeng looked like he was in a difficult position. However, he was just pretending. After all, he had to give the Di family some face even if he wanted to refuse. Upon hearing Wu Wenfeng's words, the expressions of the Di family's cultivators turned ugly all of a sudden. Why? DeVos asked hurriedly. They're all disciples of the School of Raging Flames. It's our responsibility to protect them here, Wu Wenfeng said slowly. My brother is also a disciple of the Inferno sect. Why didn't you protect him? DeVos asked. Wu Zhe. Di Sudong shouted angrily. DeVos looked at him and shut his mouth. Steward Wu Zhe is also immersed in grief. That's why he spoke so rashly. I hope you can forgive him, Di Sudong said calmly. Wu Wenfeng nodded and waved his hand. I understand. Under such circumstances, it's inevitable that young Master D would feel this way. Steward Wu, to be honest, we came here specially to avenge Wentao. Your answer is really hard for us to accept. Brother D, I understand how you feel. However, you should also know that internal conflicts between disciples of the Inferno sect, such as injuries and deaths, are unavoidable. Di Wentao and Wanyan Han have always been rivals. They have had many conflicts and Wanyan Han has often been injured. However, the situation this time was more serious and Di Wentao died because of it. I know that this is hard for you to accept, but it doesn't violate the rules of the Inferno sect. Furthermore, they are disciples of the Inferno sect. If they have a conflict with our own disciples, we naturally won't interfere. However, if outsiders are involved, the situation will be different. Brother D, I believe you understand this. I understand. Di Sudong nodded. When DeVos heard Di Sudong's words, he couldn't help but feel anxious. Second uncle, you. Di Sudong glared at DeVos. His gaze was stern and intimidating, forcefully suppressing the words that DeVos was about to say. Manager Wu, I understand what you're saying. However, I've heard that this Wanyan Han is only a cultivator from the lower realm. If he has a strong background, I can understand why you would make such a choice. However, he has no background. Even if you hand the three of them over to us, it won't affect anything. Di Sudong narrowed his eyes. He understood that Wu Wenfeng had been talking to him in a bureaucratic tone. He was very clear about how to deal with this kind of situation. Wu Wenfeng would definitely not offend the Di family for a person without any background, even if he had some talent for cultivation. Upon hearing Di Sudong's words, Wu Wenfeng also understood that if he did not make things clear, the Di family would definitely not give up today. When he thought of this, he could not help but say, Brother D, to be honest, I would not have stepped forward to protect them in the past. However, the situation is different now. What's the difference? You should know that offending an inscription master is not a wise move. There is only one inscription master in Rome and city, so the Inferno sect is restricted to a certain extent. Chapter 4267. After hearing Wu Wenfeng's words, Di Sudong could not help but frown. Inscription master. Wu Wenfeng nodded slightly. That's right. As far as I know, the only inscription master in Rome and city is Cheng Zonghao. What does Manager Wu mean? Could it be that Master Cheng is related to Wan Yen Han and wants to protect them? Di Sudong's thoughts were complicated. If that was the case, then this matter would be difficult to handle. After all, an inscription master's influence was not small. Cheng Zonghao had been in Rome and city for so many years and had a lot of connections. If they did not give him any face, it would not be easy to end the matter. However, Wu Wenfeng shook his head. It's not Master Cheng. Then who is it? DeVouz asked. He could not understand why Wan Yen Han, a cultivator from the lower realm, would have an inscription master backing him up. This was too strange. No wonder Wan Yen Han dared to attack Di Wentao after knowing his background. It turned out that he had such a layer of confidence. She is Wan Yen Han's junior sister and is also an inscription master. I believe you already knew about this before you came. I did not deliberately go against you. That's why I recruited his junior sister into the Raging Flames sect. It's because her identity as an inscription master is very important to the Raging Flames sect. Following Wu Wenfeng's words, all the Di family cultivators present could not help but be stunned. They looked at Wu Wenfeng in astonishment and wondered if they had heard wrongly. Manager Wu, did I hear wrongly? Are you talking about Wan Yen Han's junior sister? Di Sudong could not remain calm at this moment. An inscription master was an extremely powerful person. He had seen Wan Yen Han just now. He was so young. As for his junior sister, she was even younger. How could such a young lady be an inscription master? Although I know it sounds unbelievable, I'm telling the truth. Wu Wenfeng looked serious. He did not want to fall out with the Di family. It was undoubtedly best to let the other party understand the reason and scruples he had. When I first heard this news, I also found it unbelievable. However, she later proved everything to me personally. The cultivators of the Di family fell silent for a moment. DeVouz only felt that he had heard the funniest joke after hearing all this. Steward Wu, even if you want to deceive us, shouldn't you find a more believable explanation? When we came over just now, we already saw Wan Yen Han and the others. The girl beside him should be his junior sister. So young and inexperienced. You actually said that she is an inscription master. This is impossible. DeVouz said with certainty. He knew too well how difficult it was to become an inscription master. If it was a middle-aged man, he might believe it. But such a young girl was simply a fantasy. At this moment, even Di Sudong did not stop DeVouz. In fact, he also felt that what DeVouz said was very reasonable. No one would believe this at all. Young Master Di, I am explaining the reason to you. Are you saying that I am lying to you? Chapter 4268. Upon seeing the change in Wu Wenfeng's attitude and DeVouz's expression, Di Sudong hurriedly said, Steward Wu, that's not what Wu Zhe meant. If that's not what he meant, then what did he mean? Wu Wenfeng stood up, displeasure written all over his solemn face. I'm telling you the whole story because of you. However, if you don't believe me, then I have nothing to say. Di Sudong frowned slightly, his gaze turning gloomy. Steward Wu, it's not that we don't believe you, but this reason is really difficult for us to accept. Forget it if you don't accept it. Wu Wenfeng's expression was icy, and his eyes were filled with a cold glint. Anyway, they are disciples of the Raging Inferno sect. No one can do anything to them here. If anyone from the outside dares to cause trouble in the Raging Inferno sect, that would be equivalent to challenging the entire Raging Inferno sect. I'm sure you know what we will do. Someone, send them off. Wu Wenfeng said coldly and turned around after sending them off. Obviously, he was unwilling to say anything more to the D family's cultivators. He had originally wanted to talk nicely so that both parties would not fall out. However, he could not be bothered to say anything else after seeing their attitude. He did not believe that the D family would be so courageous as to oppose the Raging Inferno sect in Rome and City. Seeing Wu Wenfeng's attitude, the expressions of Di Sudong and the others turned ugly. They wanted to say something, but the other party had already said so much. If they continued to say anything, they would really lose face. Let's go. Di Sudong snorted coldly, stood up, and walked out of the house without hesitation. DeVows and the others also glared angrily at Wu Wenfeng's retreating figure before walking out one after another. Their hearts were filled with extreme anger. Yan Xiangming and the other two had been waiting outside the house not far away. The three of them were rubbing their palms together, waiting to find trouble with Wan Yanhan and the other two later. Now that the D family's people are here, Steward Wu will not protect Wan Yanhan and the others under such circumstances. Let's just wait and watch the show later. Big Brother Wu Zhe is very powerful. Wan Yanhan was so arrogant in front of us previously. I want to see if he can still be so arrogant in front of Big Brother Wu Zhe. Who asked that guy to be so stupid to not leave after such a thing happened? Isn't he just courting death by staying here? As the three of them were discussing how they were going to teach Wan Yanhan and the others a lesson, DeVows and the others walked out of the house. Seeing this, the three of them immediately went up to him. Big Brother Wu Zhe, what did Steward Wu say? Did he decide to chase Wan Yanhan and the others out of the Raging Inferno sect? Yan Xiangming's face was filled with anticipation. He was waiting to hear the good news that he had been waiting for. However, what he received in return was Di Wuza's cold face. DeVows had already been unhappy because of Wu Wenfeng's attitude. Now that Yan Xiangming had asked him this question, he felt even more embarrassed. Almost everyone believed that they would teach Wan Yanhan a lesson when they came in such a grandiose manner. However, Wu Wenfeng did not allow them to do so. It was needless to say how embarrassing this was. The most abominable thing was that this was Rome and City. They did not dare to have a direct conflict with the Raging Inferno sect. At the thought of this, he had nowhere to vent his anger. Chapter 42-69. Hearing DeVows' words, Yan Xiangming and the other two could not help but be stunned. Their eyes flashed with astonishment. Brother Wu Zhe, what do you mean? What else could it mean? DeVows glanced at the three of them. Your Steward Wu has been speaking in a bureaucratic manner. He actually said that they were disciples of the Blazing Flame School and that the Blazing Flame School had the responsibility to protect them. Huh, what a joke. Yan Xiangming and the other two were all dumbfounded when they heard this. They looked at each other in disbelief, unable to believe that this was actually true. That's impossible. Similar things have happened before. I've never seen Steward Wu so protective of the other party. That's because Wan Yanhan is capable. He's just a cultivator from the lower world with no background. Just from this point alone, we can tell that Wan Yanhan is capable. DeVows' eyes were cold and ruthless. I really underestimated this guy. He's quite capable. Then what do we do now? Are we going to let them go just like that? Yan Xiangming could not help but feel anxious. None of them had expected Steward Wu to be so protective of Wan Yanhan. However, they had always been enemies with Wan Yanhan. If they could not get rid of Wan Yanhan this time, wouldn't they be in trouble in the Blazing Flame School in the future? Impossible. DeVows said angrily. His eyes were burning with fury. Wen Tao died because of him. I'll never let them go. Even if they're capable today and we can't attack them in the Blazing Flame School, I don't believe that they can stay in the Blazing Flame School forever. As long as they come out, they won't be in the Blazing Flame School's territory. So what if I kill them? At this moment, Di Sudong also spoke up. These three young people are indeed quite capable. Although I don't know why Steward Wu would do this, with his confidence, I'm afraid it's really impossible to make a move in the Blazing Flame sect. Second uncle, I'll wait in Rome and City. I'll definitely get my chance. Di Sudong nodded slightly. Let's discuss this properly after we leave. We must avenge Wen Tao. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were standing not far from the Blazing Flame School's exit. However, they did not look worried at all. On the contrary, they looked like they were waiting to watch a good show. Look, they're here. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her chin, indicating the direction where DeVows and the others were coming from. Wang Yanhan and Yi Haomiao looked in the direction that Bailey Hongzhuang was pointing. As expected, the D family's cultivators were gradually approaching. Wow, their expressions don't look too good. Yi Haomiao raised his eyebrows and laughed. A smile also appeared on Wang Yanhan's face. Looks like Steward Wu really did what he promised us. At the same time, Yan Xiangming and the rest also noticed Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two. Their originally gloomy faces became even more gloomy. Look, the D family's cultivators have come out. Wang Yanhan and the others are too bold. Instead of hiding, they actually came out to welcome them. Who knows? I think they're crazy. Let's wait for a good show. There's really a good show to watch now. The Blazing Flame School's cultivators watched this scene curiously. This was the most attention-grabbing event recently. As Yan Xiangming and the rest slowly walked in front of Wang Yanhan and the other two, the atmosphere between them dropped to the freezing point. Chapter 4270. Looking at Wang Yanhan now, Yan Xiangming felt even angrier. This guy was obviously relying on Steward Wu's protection and deliberately came to watch the show. Hearing this, Wang Yanhan's smile became even brighter. I'll wait for you to settle the score with me slowly. DeVows took a step forward. His fist was obviously about to hit Di Xianyan. However, Bailey Hongzhuang's voice suddenly rang out. Young Master Di, I think you don't seem to understand the rules of the Raging Flames sect. If you dare to fight here, you'll be an enemy of the Raging Flames sect. I advise you not to be impulsive. After hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, DeVows couldn't help but withdraw his clenched fist. His expression became even more ferocious. What an arrogant girl. I'm not a girl, but... Bailey Hongzhuang paused. I'm arrogant. What can you do to me? The moment he said this, Di Wuza became even angrier. You. Di Sudong grabbed DeVows' uncontrollable fist and stood in front of DeVows. He looked straight at Bailey Hongzhuang with a serious and cold gaze. Little girl, you're new here. It's better to keep a low profile. Uncle, I'll return the same words to you. It's better to keep a low profile in other people's territory. Di Sudong's expression also darkened. He looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with an even more unfriendly gaze. Second uncle, this girl really needs to be taught a lesson. Wang Yanhan looked coldly at DeVows. It's not up to you to decide whether she needs to be taught a lesson or not. Forget it. Let's go first. Di Sudong's voice was cold. He looked at Wang Yanhan and the other two with an extremely gloomy gaze. The depths of his eyes were filled with killing intent. Seeing this, although DeVows was extremely unwilling, he could only nod. He said coldly to Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two, we'll ride a donkey and read a songbook. Let's wait and see. Take care. Yi Haomiao waved his hand with a bright smile. Humph. The D family's people angrily walked past Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Although they still looked very powerful, they felt a lot weaker than when they first arrived. The disciples of the Raging Flames sect were dumbfounded when they saw the D family leave quietly. They looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two in a completely different light. It can't be. The D family came to look for you personally, but you left with your tail between your legs. From the looks of it, Manager Wu must be very protective of them. I don't think so. What kind of bewitching potion did the three of them feed Manager Wu? He would rather offend the D family to protect the three of them. For a moment, everyone felt that the world had changed. Such an inconceivable thing could actually happen. It was simply too terrifying. Thinking about the D family's faces just now, I feel so good. Yi Haomiao could not help but clench his fists. His face was filled with excitement. And Yan Xiangming and the others. They used to be so arrogant when they saw us, but today, they were all terrified. How delightful. Wan Yanhan also smiled. He patted Yi Haomiao's shoulder and said, "It was all because of me in the past. You also suffered a lot from them. We're all brothers. Why are you being so formal with me?" Yi Haomiao shook his head. "We share blessings and misfortunes. Aren't we doing very well now?" On the contrary, Yan Xiangming and the others were angered to death. Chapter 4271. Ever since Cheng Zonghao had seen that inscription, he had been thinking about it day and night. However, Wu Wenfeng had not come out ever since he had returned to the Raging Inferno sect. He had sent people to the trade market to ask around but had not received any credible information. He felt very helpless about this. He desperately wanted to understand everything, but there was no way out. The only person who knew about this was Wu Wenfeng. However, Cheng Zonghao knew very well that Wu Wenfeng would not tell him about this. Regarding this, he felt very helpless. Just as Cheng Zonghao was vexed over this matter, his subordinate suddenly came to report. "Master Cheng, I heard some news, but I am not sure if it is true." Upon hearing this, Cheng Zonghao's eyes lit up. He immediately said, "Tell me about it first." Recently, a new disciple joined the Raging Inferno sect. Her name is Bailey Hongzhuang. She has another identity, which is an inscription master. Inscription master? Cheng Zonghao was astonished. Could it be that Wu Wenfeng had already recruited that inscription master into the Raging Flames school while being secretive? That's not right. Cheng Zonghao frowned as he spoke. If she is an inscription master, why is she a disciple? Tell me clearly what is going on. As far as I know, Bailey Hongzhuang is only a lady in her 20s. Furthermore, she did not join as an inscription master but as a disciple. I am also very confused about this. However, according to the description of the Raging Inferno sect disciple, the inscription she drew was not bad and helped Wan Yanhan defeat Di Wentao. Di Wentao is the guy from the Di family who died a few days ago, right? Cheng Zonghao asked. That's him. Originally, everyone thought that Wan Yanhan would escape or be expelled by the Raging Inferno sect after killing him. However, the development of this matter surprised everyone. Wu Wenfeng was very protective of them and even recruited that inscription master back to his side. On top of that, the Di family's cultivators went to the Raging Inferno sect today but were rudely chased out by Wu Wenfeng. It was obvious that he wanted to protect Wan Yanhan and the rest to the end. The subordinate felt that this situation did not seem to be in line with Wu Wenfeng's usual style. Anyone could weigh the pros and cons between the Di family and a cultivator with no background. However, Wu Wenfeng still made such a decision. Moreover, the Raging Flame school didn't have any objections. This situation was worth asking. Perhaps, these problems really did appear on that woman. In fact, everything changed after that woman appeared. After listening to the report, Cheng Zonghao fell into deep thought. From the looks of it, this matter is indeed a little strange, Master Cheng, this subordinate will continue to inquire about this matter. As long as there is reliable news, this subordinate will definitely report it as soon as possible. Wait. Cheng Zonghao raised his right hand. Is there anything else, Master Cheng? Did you just say that the D family's cultivators were chased out by Wu Wenfeng? That's right. It happened not long ago. Alright, help me invite them back. As long as we ask them, we will be able to confirm this information. This subordinate will do it immediately. A smile appeared on Cheng Zonghao's face. Even if Wu Wenfeng tried to cover it up, he would definitely find out the truth of this matter. Chapter 4272. Di Sudong and the rest stayed in the inn after leaving the Blazing Flame sect. However, they were all filled with anger. That damned Wu Wenfeng. He is only a steward of the Blazing Flame sect. How dare he be so arrogant? How despicable. Devao's face was filled with anger as he clenched his fists. He really wanted to beat Wu Wenfeng and the three arrogant juniors to death. Wu Wenfeng must have his reasons for doing so. Our forces are not in Rome and city, so the Blazing Flame sect will not benefit us at all, Di Sudong said after some thought. Then what should we do? Di Wuza frowned. Could it be that we have no choice but to wait outside and wait? What if they don't come out? Won't we be wasting a lot of time here? Di Sudong turned to Yan Xiangming. Do you have a way to lure them out? They had come here with great fanfare, so they had to take revenge. If they went back just like that, they would lose face. Besides, Di Wentao's body was still warm. If they did not take revenge for him, how could they face the dead Di Wentao? Yan Xiangming and the other two exchanged glances with complicated expressions. We will think of a way, but given the current situation, I'm afraid they won't come out so easily. Yes, if we can think of it, they can too. They are so smug because they know we can't attack them in the Blazing Flame sect. I'm afraid they won't come out no matter what we do. If that's the case, this will be troublesome. Di Sudong's expression was ugly. He knew that Yan Xiangming and the rest were telling the truth. The other party was not stupid and could not be fooled so easily. At most, I'll just wait here. I don't believe they can stay in the Blazing Flame sect forever. They have to come out to buy things. Devao slammed his fist on the table, his eyes bloodshot. I won't go back if I don't take revenge for Wentao. At that moment, a cultivator from the D family suddenly walked in. Second uncle, Master Cheng of Rome and City invites you over for a chat. Hearing that, Di Sudong raised his eyebrows and a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. Cheng Zonghao. That's him. He just sent someone to invite you. Could it be that Wan Yanhan and the others are really related to Cheng Zonghao? Otherwise, why would he invite me over at a time like this? Di Sudong pondered. He really couldn't figure it out. Second uncle, I'll go with you. Devao's quickly said, I'd like to see what he's going to do. Since he has already invited us, we naturally have to go and take a look. But you can't be impulsive. Cheng Zonghao is an inscription grandmaster. If we anger him, it won't do us any good. He's not Wu Wenfeng. You must restrain your attitude, do you understand? If you still don't know what's important, then I'll go on my own. Di Sudong looked at Devao's seriously. Devao's was too impulsive. Di Sudong felt helpless about his temper. Such an attitude was nothing in the Di family's sphere of influence. However, they had to restrain themselves outside. Second uncle, don't worry. I won't be impulsive this time, Devao's hurriedly said. Di Sudong stared deeply at Devao's before nodding. Alright, come with me to take a look. The rest of you will stay in the inn and wait for our news. Chapter 4273. Di Sudong and DeVows did not waste any time. After receiving the invitation, they headed straight to Qing Zonghao's residence. As the only inscription master in Rongpan City, Qing Zonghao's residence was extremely luxurious. His wealth and status were evident everywhere. "Sir, Master Cheng is in the house." As Di Sudong and DeVows entered the house, Qing Zonghao's figure appeared in their line of sight. A smile appeared on their faces as they cupped their fists and said, "Master Cheng, it's an honor to meet you." "Brother Di, young Master Di, I'm sorry for abruptly inviting you over for a chat." "What are you talking about, Master Cheng?" "It's our honor to be invited by you." Qing Zonghao smiled. "Brother Di, you're too polite. If you don't mind, you can just call me Brother Cheng. Calling me Master Cheng is too formal." Di Sudong was a little surprised by Qing Zonghao's enthusiasm when he noticed his attitude. However, he was happy to accept the enthusiasm of an inscription master. "In that case, I won't stand on ceremony, Brother Cheng." "Of course." Qing Zonghao smiled. "Brother Di, you must have come to Rongpan City this time because of Di Wentao, right?" Di Sudong nodded. Wentao is a direct descendant of the Di family. This time, he was killed by a cultivator from the lower realm. Naturally, we have to avenge him. Qing Zonghao nodded. "Indeed, this is too unjust. However, I heard that you went to the Blazing Flames sect today and did not succeed." Di Sudong was a little confused when he saw that Qing Zonghao was so concerned about this matter. He could not help but ask, "Brother Cheng, you seem to be very concerned about this matter." Upon hearing this, Qing Zonghao waved his hand, his smile still warm. "I just find this matter very strange. Given the Di family's background, logically speaking, the Raging Flames sect has no reason to protect a lad with no status or background. However, I heard that this kid is quite capable and has a good cultivation talent. That's why Wu Wenfeng valued him so much." As Qing Zonghao spoke, he observed the expressions of Di Sudong and Di Sudong. After noticing the vigilance on their faces, he understood that if he did not give them a reason, they would not believe him. "To tell you the truth, I've been feeling that Wu Wenfeng of the Blazing Sect has been acting a little strange recently. Coincidentally, I also heard that your matter is related to Wu Wenfeng, so I wanted to ask you about it." "I see." The suspicion in Di Sudong's eyes dissipated a little. Qing Zonghao had already said so much, so he naturally wouldn't ask about the specific reason. That would be too inappropriate. It seemed that there was a conflict between Qing Zonghao and Wu Wenfeng. That was why Qing Zonghao invited them over after hearing the news. Perhaps he wanted to find fault with Wu Wenfeng. "Brother Di, could you tell me the ins and outs of this matter?" Qing Zonghao asked tentatively. Di Sudong was silent for a moment before he nodded. "All right." Even if he did not say anything, everyone would find out sooner or later. Rather than that, he might as well take this opportunity to do Qing Zonghao a favor. If he needed to use him in the future, he would still have some face. Chapter 4274. After listening to Di Sudong's narration, Qing Zonghao's eyes narrowed. Did Wu Wenfeng really say that the young lady he recruited was an inscription master? Di Sudong nodded. Wu Wenfeng did say that. Qing Zonghao's gaze kept changing. He had always felt that there was something fishy about this matter, but he could not figure out what the problem was. Now that Di Sudong had reminded him, he finally understood. Although this statement was indeed shocking, based on his understanding of Wu Wenfeng, he would definitely not have said such a ridiculous reason if there were other reasons. What he said to the Di family was probably not a lie, but the truth. If that young woman was really an inscription master, then all of these could be linked together. This would explain why Wu Wenfeng would personally come over with an inscription pattern for him to appraise. Similarly, it would also explain why he didn't come out after returning to the Blazing Flames school. Furthermore, the reason why he was so protective of Wang Yanhan and the others was obvious. The value of an inscription master was indeed greater than offending the D family. After all, the D family's sphere of influence was very far away from them. Even if they offended them, they would not have many interactions in the future. On the contrary, an inscription master would be of great help to the Fiery Flames sect. Seeing that Cheng Zonghao had fallen silent, Di Wuxia could not help but say, "It's obvious that such a reason is fake." He clearly couldn't find a reason, so he came up with a reason that isn't a reason. Di Sudong's expression did not look good. When he noticed Cheng Zonghao's expression, he could not help but ask, "Brother Cheng, you're an inscription master in Rome and City. I'm sure you know best about inscription masters. This is indeed fake, right?" Cheng Zonghao thought about it and shook his head. "Not necessarily." Hearing Cheng Zonghao's words, Di Sudong and Devouz could not help but be stunned. The two of them looked at him in astonishment, wondering if they had heard wrongly. "Brother Cheng, what do you mean? Do you think that lady could really be an inscription master?" "That's right." Cheng Zonghao nodded. "Previously, Wu Wenfeng asked me to appraise an inscription pattern. I asked him who drew it, but he did not tell me. However, it was on that day that he seemed to have recruited that woman into the Blazing Flames school. Now that he put everything together, perhaps what he said was true. After all, since he has the guts to protect Wang Yanhan and the rest, there is naturally no need for him to make up such a lie to deceive you. But we've seen that girl. She's too young. No matter how I look at her, she doesn't look like an inscription master," Devouz quickly said. Di Sudong also had a complicated expression on his face. This kind of situation was really hard to believe. "Actually, I've heard some news about this before. At that time, I thought so too. But now, it seems that all of this might be true. Because only in this way can everything be connected." Cheng Zonghao's mind was also constantly thinking. Previously, he had always felt that this news was unreliable, but now that things had developed to this point, it was time for him to meet that young woman. Chapter 4275. Master Cheng, that girl doesn't look like an inscription master at all. Furthermore, based on what we saw, she is clearly just an ordinary disciple of the Blazing Flame sect. Di Wuxia simply couldn't believe it. This was not something that he didn't want to believe. No matter who saw Bailey Hongzhuang's appearance, they wouldn't believe it. This was simply a fantasy. Cheng Zonghao glanced at Di Wuxia before he turned to Di Sudong and said, "Brother Di, you are actually a sensible person. You should understand that there is no need for Wu Wenfeng to lie to you at this time." Di Sudong nodded. "Brother Cheng, you're right. If it weren't for you reminding me, I would have overlooked this point. If this is really the case, then this girl is really surprising." Di Sudong sighed. If the other party was really an inscription master, then this would indeed be troublesome for them. "Brother Di, you don't have to be too anxious. I will think of a way to investigate this matter," said Cheng Zonghao. "Then I will have to trouble you, Brother Cheng. I hope you can let me know after you confirm it." "Don't worry." After the Di family cultivators left, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two returned to the house to cultivate. They had already made up their minds to stay in the Blazing Flame sect for the next few days. They knew that the Di family would definitely not let this matter rest. If they went out now, what awaited them would definitely be an ambush. However, the truth was just as they had expected. Yan Xiangming and the other two started to think of ways to find fault with them after they returned. "Wang Yanhan, what kind of ability do you think you have by being so cowardly? Do you think you can do it with Steward Wu's protection?" Yan Xiangming was also filled with anger at the moment. Ever since the incident that day, he had felt extremely aggrieved during this period of time. Ever since he had joined the Blazing Flame sect, he had never been so sullen. This feeling was simply unbearable and almost drove him crazy. Now that the reinforcements had finally arrived, he could not take action. One could imagine how sullen he felt. In the face of Yan Xiangming's anger, Wang Yanhan was extremely calm. That's right. We have Steward Wu's protection. Why? Are you not convinced? What kind of ability are you hiding here? If you have the ability, then follow me outside. Yan Xiangming said angrily. Yi Haomiao chuckled. Why would I go outside with you? One-on-one. If you want to fight me one-on-one, you don't have to go outside. We can fight here. However, if you want us to lure the D family out, I'm sorry, but we're not that stupid. As he spoke, Yi Haomiao couldn't help but look at Wang Yanhan. His eyes were filled with speechlessness. In the past, I only felt that this guy, Di Wentao, was stupid and annoying. Now, it seems that he's the most enlightened in this group. Yan Xiangming listened to their conversation in a daze, but he didn't even have the chance to talk back. I don't believe that you can stay here forever. I don't believe that the D family can keep waiting outside. Anyway, we are not in a hurry. Let's see how patient they are. Wang Yanhan's gaze was cold. This was originally a tug-of-war. They wanted to see who would lose their patience first. However, he believed that the D family would be the ones who couldn't take it. Chapter 42-76. After Di Sudong and the rest returned from Cheng Zhonghao's place, they stayed in the inn. They couldn't understand what had happened today, so everyone seemed to have a lot on their minds. Second uncle, what Master Cheng said can't be true, right? No matter how I look at it, that girl doesn't look like an inscription master. Devouz couldn't help but say. Di Sudong's face darkened. Actually, Cheng Da's analysis is very reasonable. In today's situation, Wu Wenfeng indeed has no need to deceive us. However, since Master Cheng said that he will check it out, we will just stay here and wait for the news. If Master Cheng's judgment is right and that girl is really an inscription master, then what should we do? Devouz's face turned ugly. Are we just going to let this matter go and not avenge Wen Tao? Hearing this, Di Sudong also fell into deep thought. However, his gaze gradually sharpened. Wen Tao's revenge must be avenged. Even if she is really an inscription master, we must take advantage of the fact that she has yet to gain a firm foothold here and get rid of her as soon as possible. Devouz, who was originally a little depressed, looked better after hearing this. He immediately nodded solemnly, okay. Just now, Yan Xiangming and the rest have already gone back to think of a way. I don't know if we can lure them out. Just as Devouz was speaking, Yan Xiangming and the other two had already returned. However, after hearing the situation from Yan Xiangming and the other two, Devouz couldn't hold back his temper anymore. Are you all stupid pigs? How can they come out with such a method? Why don't you use your brains and think about it? Just by thinking about it, you know that all of this is simply impossible. Yan Xiangming and the other two shrunk their heads. Facing Devouz's reprimand, they could only endure it. Forget it, you all go back first. I will think of a way. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but shake her head after learning about Yan Xiangming and the other two's actions. These three guys are really stupid. Even if they want to lure us out, they should find a smarter excuse. Only a fool would agree to this kind of clamor. Actually, the three of them really don't have brains. If they had brains, they wouldn't be like this now. Yi Haomiao spread out his hands. His seemingly helpless expression was full of mockery. Maybe it's because they're stupid enough that they've always been loyal to Di Wentao. Bailey Hongzhuang looked indifferent. However, with their IQ, I don't think we need to worry. Just as they were talking, an unfamiliar disciple of the Blazing Flame School knocked on her door. Bailey Hongzhuang, I'm here to deliver a message. The man looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two with fear in his eyes. In fact, The three Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two were known to be existences not to be trifled with. What's the message? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. Master Cheng is looking for you. He wants to invite you out for a chat. The man's eyes were filled with excitement. He's the only inscription master in Rome and city. Being invited by him is something that everyone is looking forward to the most. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but frown. Then, she replied with 2 words, I'm not going. Hearing this, the man couldn't help but be stunned. He looked at her as if he was looking at a monster. Chapter 42-77. I'm not going. Bailey Hongzhuang spoke again, repeating her previous answer. The man stared at Bailey Hongzhuang in a daze. He stood rooted to the ground as if he couldn't believe what he had heard. Didn't you hear what I said? Bailey Hongzhuang asked with a frown. The man was stunned before he nodded. I heard you. Aren't you going to report back? Oh, I'll go right away. After the man left, Wang Yanhan and Yi Haomiao couldn't help but look at Bailey Hongzhuang. Little junior sister, Master Cheng is an extremely powerful inscription master. How could you reject his invitation? I don't know him, so why should I go? Besides, he didn't invite me earlier or later. Why did he invite me now? Don't you think it's strange? Bailey Hongzhuang retorted. That's true. Perhaps this is a scheme the D family came up with to lure us out and defeat us one by one. Yi Haomiao revealed a look of amazement. This move is much stronger than what Yan Xiangming and the others used before. Wang Yanhan nodded. In that case, it's indeed better not to go. After all, it's better to be careful. In my opinion, we shouldn't think about it no matter what news we hear. We should just stay quietly in the Raging Flames sect. As long as we stay here, the D family won't be able to find trouble with us. Yi Haomiao sat on the chair nonchalantly. He looked like a dead pig that wasn't afraid of boiling water. He had already made up his mind. Cheng Zonghao couldn't help but be stunned when he heard that Bailey Hongzhuang had rejected his invitation. He hadn't expected that Bailey Hongzhuang would actually reject his invitation. Master Cheng, Bailey Hongzhuang doesn't know what's good for her. It's already her great fortune that you're willing to invite her. She actually rejected your invitation. How despicable. Cheng Zonghao raised his right hand slightly and smiled faintly. It's okay. It's not strange. Master, your temper is too good. I think she doesn't know how to appreciate favors. I think she might have taken my invitation as a cover for the D family. Given the current situation, it is indeed possible for her to think that way. Then should this subordinate go over again and explain to her? Cheng Zonghao waved his hand. No need. Next time, I'll go to the Raging Flames school personally. This little girl is indeed very interesting. When his subordinates heard that Cheng Zonghao was going to the Raging Flames gate to see Bailey Hongzhuang, they couldn't help but be dumbfounded. The other party was just a young girl. She was actually able to make his master personally meet her. Wasn't this a little too much face? In comparison, Cheng Zonghao didn't think so. He only felt that Bailey Hongzhuang might have really mastered a very powerful method, otherwise Wu Wenfeng would not be so protective of her. When he thought about how the method that he hadn't been able to decipher for so many years might be in Bailey Hongzhuang's hands, he felt somewhat conflicted. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang and Wang Yanhan were about to return to the house after their discussion, another lady suddenly came looking for them. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but frown. What's the matter? Miss Bailey, there's a man outside who wants to see you. I'm not going to see him. No matter who he is, please help me answer that I'm not seeing him. Bailey Hongzhuang waved her hand, a wave of annoyance in her heart. The D family's people had already failed once, and now they were using the same trick again. It was too boring. Chapter 4278. Yi Haomiao's eyes lit up with curiosity when he heard the woman's words. This is interesting. What kind of person is so confident that you'll definitely go out and meet him once he says his name? What did that man say his name was? Tell us about it. Bailey Hongzhuang stopped in her tracks. She had not even gone out when the Di family had mentioned Cheng Zhonghao's name. Now, she was so confident. This was indeed strange. After all, she had only been in the upper realm for a short period of time. Apart from Wanyan Han and Yi Haomiao, she had not interacted with anyone else. It would be very difficult to get hold of her weakness. When she saw that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were starting to get interested again, she could not help but whisper, "He said his name is Di Beichen." As the woman's voice fell, Wanyan Han couldn't help but be taken aback. His eyes flashed with deep astonishment. He was no stranger to this name. Di Beichen? Yi Haomiao frowned. Who is that? I've never heard of him before. However, just as Yi Haomiao turned his head, he found that Bailey Hongzhuang's figure had disappeared. He couldn't help but be stunned and turned to look at Wanyan Han. Wanyan Han, what's going on? Wanyan Han glanced at Yi Haomiao and said, Di Beichen is junior sister's husband. Yi Haomiao was dumbfounded when he heard this. His face was full of astonishment. Is this true? Didn't Miss Bailey say that her husband was in the lower realm? How did he suddenly find this place? I don't know. Wanyan Han shook his head. Perhaps he knew that junior sister had come to the upper realm, so he came here. Then let's go out and take a look. Let's go. Outside the Raging Flames sect. A white figure stood there for a long time. The man was tall and his back was straight. He had sword-like eyebrows, starry eyes, and a high nose bridge. The corners of his eyes and the tips of his brows seemed to be carefully carved by the heavens. They were perfect and flawless. A few koi fish were woven with silver thread at the end of his long white robe. It was otherworldly and elegant. He just stood there quietly, looking into the Raging Flames sect. Clearly, he was waiting for someone. At this moment, a group of people had already gathered around the white-robed man. Numerous gazes of surprise and curiosity landed on him. There were even quite a few women standing to the side who had already blushed. What a handsome young master. I have never seen such a handsome man before. He must have just arrived in Rongpen City. Otherwise, we would have heard of such a handsome man. From the looks of it, he must have come to our house of Raging Flames to look for someone. I wonder who he is looking for. I really envy the woman who helped to pass on the message just now. At least she could say a few words to him. I do hope that he's a new disciple who came to report to the Blazing Flames school. There have been many new disciples who have come to report to the Blazing Flames school. Everyone whispered to each other, but they all stopped on the spot. Obviously, they wanted to know who this handsome man was waiting for. Of course, almost all the women hoped that he was waiting for a man. That way, they would have hope. When Bailey Hongzhuang heard the name Di Beichen, she quickly ran out of the house of Raging Flames. Her elegant and refined face was filled with anticipation. Her beautiful eyes flickered with ecstasy. Chapter 4279. Ever since Bailey Hongzhuang had arrived in the upper realm, she had been burdened with anxiety. On one hand, she was worried that Di Beichen would not know that she was still alive and would fall into agony because of this. On the other hand, she was worried that Di Beichen would not be able to find her after arriving in the upper realm. In this vast upper realm, if the other party did not know of her existence, then the chances of them meeting was very slim. She wanted to find out where the Di family was, but she realized that it was extremely difficult to reach that level. With all these situations stacked together, one could imagine how complicated her feelings were. She did not want to be separated from Di Baichen just like this. She might not even be able to see him again for the rest of her life. However, she did not expect to suddenly hear the news that Di Baichen had come to look for her today. She was simply overjoyed. After hearing this news, the three beasts' eyes were filled with joy. I never thought that Di Baichen would be able to find Master so quickly. It seems that he's extraordinarily capable. Xiao Hei's eyes sparkled with excitement. She could not help but clap her hands. Di Baichen has always been very smart. It's not surprising that he would be able to find Master. However, I'm still surprised that he was able to find her so quickly. Xiao Bai smiled. That's great. Master has been depressed because of this matter all this time. Now that Di Baichen is here, Master doesn't have to be sad anymore. Baisher could not help but sigh in relief. His biggest wish was for his master to be happy. Although his master usually did not express anything in front of them, Baisher had followed his master for so long that he understood his master's character very well. He could even see his master's current emotions from her small, unintentional movements. Bailey Hongzhuang rushed to the entrance of the Blazing Flames sect as fast as the wind. As expected, she saw a familiar tall figure from afar. With just a glance, Bailey Hongzhuang recognized the familiar figure. At that moment, her eyes suddenly became sour, and her bright eyes gradually became moist. Bailey Hongzhuang's footsteps could not help but slow down. Staring at the charming figure, thousands of emotions flashed through her mind. As if feeling the gaze behind him, Di Baichen turned around at the same time. When he saw that familiar figure, the curve of his lips couldn't help but gradually widen. His already extraordinarily handsome face became even more enchanting and charming. An indescribable warmth radiated from her body, as warm and enchanting as the winter sun. Even if the face in front of him was not the one he was familiar with, as long as he looked at the familiar figure, he could be sure that this person was his wife. Wife. His deep and magnetic voice was filled with longing and joy. Di Baichen stepped forward. His long and narrow eyes were overflowing with color. It was as if his entire world had lit up the moment he saw Bailey Hongzhuang. During this period of time, he had been rushing about in search of Bailey Hongzhuang. In fact, the worry in his heart had never lessened. At the time, Bailey Hongzhuang had entered the upper realm while being surrounded by everyone. He had never known the situation of Bailey Hongzhuang, so during this period of time, he had been worried that she might have met with some mishap. Chapter 4280. Hearing that familiar voice, Bailey Hongzhuang's heart skipped a beat. The smile on her lips became even more radiant. Then, she took a step forward and ran towards Di Baichen. The smile on Di Baichen's face became even more affectionate. He opened his arms and pulled Bailey Hongzhuang into his embrace. Baichen. Bailey Hongzhuang called out softly. She hugged Di Baichen tightly, feeling his familiar temperature, smell, and even heartbeat. Her heart, which had been floating around for the past few days, seemed to settle down in an instant. Wife, I'm here. Di Baichen slowly said in Bailey Hongzhuang's ear. His deep voice was a little hoarse, but it couldn't hide the longing it contained. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly in Di Baichen's embrace. Her little face was pressed against Di Baichen's chest. Only when her emotions calmed down did she slowly raise her little face and look at Di Baichen's handsome face. After taking a closer look, she discovered that Di Baichen's eyelids were slightly green. His clothes were also covered in dust. It was obvious that he had been running around for the past few days and hadn't had a good rest. Baichen, you've been working hard these days, haven't you? Bailey Hongzhuang asked with concern. Di Baichen held Bailey Hongzhuang's soft and boneless hands and shook his head with a smile. As long as I can see you, nothing else matters. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled up slightly. A sweet feeling spread in her heart. Did you come alone? I came alone. Di Beichen nodded. When Wan Yanhan and Yi Haomiao arrived outside the Gate of Raging Flames, they saw the two figures hugging each other. They couldn't help but look at each other. Their expressions changed a little, and a trace of joy surged in their hearts. Is he Miss Bailey's husband? Yi Haomiao's eyes flashed with amazement. Even though he was a man, he was still shocked the moment he saw Di Beichen. Previously, he had always thought that since Bailey Hongzhuang was so outstanding, her husband should also be extremely outstanding. Otherwise, he would not be worthy of her. However, after meeting Di Beichen, he felt that such a man was really rare in the world. Usually, he still had some confidence in himself. But facing a man like Di Beichen, he couldn't help but feel inferior. I think so. Actually, I haven't seen him before. But thinking about it, only a man like him is worthy of junior sister. Wan Yanhan smiled as he recalled how Bailey Hongzhuang always missed Di Beichen. In the past, he still had some doubts, but after seeing her today, the doubts in his heart completely disappeared. The two of them were really a match made in heaven. Aside from them, Di Beichen was probably not suitable for anyone else. Yi Haomiao's expression was rather complicated as he stared at the two figures hugging each other. To be honest, based on appearance alone, he felt that Di Beichen seemed to be more outstanding than Bailey Hongzhuang. However, after thinking about it carefully, he felt that since Bailey Hongzhuang was so outstanding, it wouldn't be bad to make up for it. Di Beichen was originally surrounded by a group of cultivators. Everyone was curious as to who he was waiting for. When they saw Bailey Hongzhuang appear, they couldn't help but be stunned. Many possibilities flashed across their minds, but they never thought that the person who had come would be Bailey Hongzhuang. This woman had only joined the Blazing Flames Order for a few days, but she was exceptionally eye-catching. Chapter 4281. Heavens, I never thought that it would be her. Where did this woman come from? Why is everything that has happened recently related to her? Even Steward Wu is protecting her. It's really strange. This man is so handsome. How did he fall for Bailey Hongzhuang? Look, their appearances are clearly not compatible. The group of women could not help but sigh. Looking at Di Beichen's incomparably handsome appearance, they felt that no one was worthy of him. However, the way Di Beichen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang now was so obvious with the gentleness and adoration in his eyes. It was obvious that he had placed all his thoughts on her. This is too much of a blow. Did you guys hear what he called Bailey Hongzhuang just now? He actually called Bailey Hongzhuang his wife. Doesn't this mean that they're already married? This is unreasonable. Then isn't there no hope for us? For a moment, the area around Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen was filled with wails and howls. The sound of hearts breaking rose and fell one after another. Then, the group of women hugged each other for warmth and left. However, there were still many women who refused to give up until all hope was lost. They were unwilling to shift their gazes away from Di Beichen. Beichen, why did you come here alone? Didn't Ying and the others come? Bailey Hongzhuang's face was filled with anticipation. Until now, she was still unwilling to believe that Ying and the others might have fallen. At this moment, the reunion had left her with too many doubts. There were countless questions in her heart and she only wanted to clarify them one by one. Previously, when I came out of the ruins, I heard the sound of your bomb. I immediately rushed over to look for you, but I was still one step too late. Later on, when I was looking for you, I found your hairpin at the side of the road. I was certain that you must have come to the upper realm, so I didn't have time to greet them and came here alone. However, when I entered the passage, I heard Xiren's voice. He must have come to look for us. Di Beichen spoke slowly. At that time, He had left in a hurry, but he still clearly remembered hearing Xiren's call. If he had slowed down a little, he would have been able to exchange a few words with Xiren and the others. However, since things had come to this, he was not too worried. Xiren and Shangguan Yingying knew that they had come to the upper realm. They would probably come here after they broke through to the Starlight realm. Hearing Di Beichen's words, Bailey Hongzhuang, and I thought you didn't know that I had come to the upper realm. 2. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but rejoice. Fortunately, she had lost a hairpin. After coming to the upper realm, she also realized this, but she didn't know where her hairpin had fallen. She didn't expect it to fall at the entrance to the upper realm from the lower realm and leave such a message for Di Beichen. Otherwise, she really didn't know how long it would have taken for her to reunite with Di Beichen. Thinking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but think of the white dragon's figure. The reason why she was able to resolve the crisis was entirely because of the white dragon. Maybe the white dragon deliberately left the hairpin there. After all, it was too much of a coincidence. Wife, I still don't know what happened after I went to accept the inheritance. How did you end up like this? Chapter 4282. The situation back then was beyond our expectations as well. Bailey Hongzhuang sighed emotionally. Even though the incident had happened a long time ago, she could not help but sigh when she recalled it all. After you had received the inheritance from the ruins, we stayed in the ruins and waited for you to reappear. However, as we were waiting, I suddenly found a strange stone room and was separated from everyone else. However, we never thought that the cultivators from the Crimson Moon sect would return and attack Xiren and the others. By the time I emerged from the stone room, there was no one left in the ruins. Later on, I fell into their ambush. I see. It was only at this moment that Di Beichen understood everything. His deep, dark eyes suddenly darkened. I never thought that the members of the Crimson Moon sect would be so despicable. Things had turned out this way. However, at this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang could not care less about this. Di Beichen, are you sure that you heard Xiren's voice? Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but ask. When I emerged from the ruins, the members of the Crimson Moon sect told me that Yingying and the others had fallen. Her pitch-black, phoenix-like eyes flickered with a fervent and nervous light. This was undoubtedly the most unbearable thing for her. When she had first heard this news, she had felt her heart clench. She had long gotten used to living with Yingying and the others. When she thought about how they would never appear in front of her again, she felt an emptiness in her heart. When he saw how concerned Bailey Hongzhuang was, Di Beichen could not help but reach out and stroke her head. He smiled and said, I did hear it. Don't worry, I didn't hear wrongly. That's good. Bailey Hongzhuang heaved a sigh of relief. The sadness and oppression that had gathered in her heart was completely relieved at this moment. Shangguan Yingying and the others were still alive. Di Beichen had also returned to her side. All of this made her feel extremely happy. When everyone saw how intimate Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang were, their eyes flashed with envy. For a moment, Bailey Hongzhuang had become the object of envy of the female disciples of the Blazing Flames school. When Wanyan Han and Yi Haomiao saw Bailey Hongzhuang and Yi Haomiao's excitement, they were too embarrassed to disturb them. After all, they had been separated for such a long time. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Needless to say, they were overjoyed. When they saw that the two of them had calmed down, they slowly walked over. Little junior sister, Wanyan Han said tentatively, afraid that his appearance would disturb their warmth. After seeing Wanyan Han, Bailey Hongzhuang also revealed a smile. Senior brother, let me introduce you. This is my husband, Di Beichen. Nice to meet you. Wanyan Han's smile was full of joy. I have long heard of your name from little junior sister. Seeing you today, you are indeed extraordinary. Speaking of which, you are my junior brother. I am so happy to see you in the upper world. After hearing Wang Yanhan's words, Di Beichen's handsome eyes flashed with a faint doubt. However, Bailey Hongzhuang's next words quickly resolved his doubts. Beichen, this is senior brother Wang Yanhan. He is the elder brother of senior brother Wang Yanling in our Penglai Palace. Chapter 4283. Di Beichen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in surprise. Wife, you are so lucky. You met the senior brother of our family when you first came to the upper world. Yes. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled brightly. When I first came to the upper world, I was already in a coma. Fortunately, I met senior brother and he saved me. Later, when I found out that senior brother was also from Penglai Palace, I also felt that it was too much of a coincidence. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Di Beichen's eyes suddenly focused. Although Bailey Hongzhuang said it lightly, he heard the key word. Coma. When Bailey Hongzhuang first came to the upper world, she was actually in a coma. However, at that time, she was forced to come to the upper world by herself. That situation was not beyond his expectations. Fortunately, his wife met a senior brother of his family and did not meet any bad people. Otherwise, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Senior brother Wang Yan, thank you for saving Hongzhuang. Di Beichen's eyes were serious and sincere. If you need my help in the future, just tell me and I will do my best. Saving Bailey Hongzhuang was a great kindness to him. Looking at Di Beichen's serious look, Wang Yanhan was also a little surprised, but the other party's performance also made him more aware of the importance Bailey Hongzhuang had in Di Beichen's heart. No wonder Bailey Hongzhuang had been thinking about Di Beichen after coming to the upper world alone. Now it seemed that Di Beichen's affection for Bailey Hongzhuang and Bailey Hongzhuang had only increased. As a man, he understood the weight of Di Beichen's words and also understood his gratitude. Junior brother Di, you are too polite. Since junior sister is my junior sister, it is my duty to take care of her. Moreover, junior sister has actually helped me a lot during this period of time. If it wasn't for junior sister's help, I might be in a different situation right now. Wang Yanhan's words were also very sincere. If it wasn't for Bailey Hongzhuang's appearance waking him up, he would definitely still be being pressured by Di Wentao. Back then, Di Wentao had already gone more and more overboard. In fact, he knew in his heart that even if he tolerated Di Wentao, he wouldn't be able to endure for too long. Di Wentao would definitely attack him. Without the inscriptions given to him by little junior sister, he and Yi Haomiao wouldn't be a match for Di Wentao's group at all. At that time, the person who would die would not be Di Wentao, but himself. Di Beichen glanced at Bailey Hongzhuang. He didn't find Wang Yanhan's words strange. His wife was originally very capable, and it was expected that she would be able to help others. After all, he understood Bailey Hongzhuang. She didn't like to take advantage of others. If others helped her, she would definitely find a way to return the favor. By the way, Beichen, this is senior brother Wang Yan's good brother, Yi Haomiao. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. By the way, Beichen, how did you find me? Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Beichen curiously. Even if he knew that she had come to the upper realm, it wasn't an easy thing to find her. Junior brother Di, did you also happen to be transported to Rome and city? Wang Yanhan was also a little curious. He had always wanted to meet Wang Yanling. Since Di Beichen could find Bailey Hongzhuang so quickly, maybe he would be able to meet his brother soon in the future. Chapter 4284. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two were stunned. They didn't expect Di Beichen to have gone to so many cities. Then how did you know that junior sister was here? Wang Yanhan looked at Di Beichen in surprise. It was too difficult to find Bailey Hongzhuang in so many places. How did Di Beichen find her so quickly? After I arrived, I asked around for information about my wife. When I couldn't find any clues, I went to the next city. However, when I came to Rome and city, many people said that she was a disciple of the Blazing Flames sect when I mentioned her name. That's why I came to the Blazing Flames sect. Di Beichen's lips curled up slightly. Speaking of which, I'm really glad that my wife is able to cause a stir wherever she goes. Otherwise, it wouldn't be easy for me to find her. After all, it was too difficult to find a person in a sea of people. However, if the person was very famous, it would be different. It would be very easy to find her. Bailey Hongzhuang had never been a low-key person. Di Beichen believed that as long as Hongzhuang was around, she would definitely spread some news. This didn't mean that Hongzhuang liked to cause trouble. It was just that gold would always shine. She was destined to be extraordinary. Sure enough, after arriving at Rome and city, he only needed to ask around to get the relevant information. When he first heard the news, he was extremely surprised. After searching for so long, he finally found Hongzhuang. I see. Wang Yanhan and Yi Haomiao couldn't help but look at Di Beichen. They thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would be very uncomfortable with so many things happening these days. However, after hearing Di Beichen's explanation and recalling Bailey Hongzhuang's calm appearance, they suddenly felt that they might have been worrying too much. Bailey Hongzhuang was clearly very calm about these situations. No wonder Miss Bailey is so young but not afraid of what has happened these days. It turns out that she's already used to it. Yi Haomiao sighed as he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. He had previously admired Bailey Hongzhuang's calmness. Even he was frightened by Bailey Hongzhuang. It turned out that Bailey Hongzhuang was already experienced. Feeling Yi Haomiao and Yi Haomiao's gazes, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but shrug. Actually, I don't know what's going on. I wanted to keep a low profile. DeVoe's group stayed in the inn, thinking about how to lure Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two out. This was the only way they could think of now. However, when they found out that Bailey Hongzhuang had actually rejected Qing Zonghao's invitation, they couldn't help but be dumbfounded. If they heard that someone had rejected Qing Zonghao's invitation, they would definitely think that person was crazy. However, Bailey Hongzhuang actually had the guts to reject Qing Zonghao's invitation. They also felt helpless. This Bailey Hongzhuang is really unmoved by force or persuasion. DeVoe frowned. He didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang to be so difficult to deal with. He also felt extremely helpless. Now even Master Cheng's invitation is useless. Brother Wu Zhe, I'm afraid it's really difficult to get them out. Yan Xiangming was also at his wit's end. In the past, he didn't think that Wang Yanhan and the others were so difficult to deal with. Chapter 4285. Upon seeing DeVoe's anger, Yan Xiangming nodded repeatedly and said, "Yes, yes, we will definitely think of a way." You idiot. Hurry up and think. DeVoe reached out and patted Yan Xiangming's head. I'm starting to suspect that Wen Tao's death has something to do with you guys. Yan Xiangming and the others could not help but be stunned when they heard DeVoe's words. They looked at DeVoe in horror. Could he have discovered something? You guys are so stupid. You can't help Wen Tao come up with a plan by following him around. You might have come up with some useless ideas, which is why Wen Tao ended up in such a state. Upon hearing DeVoe's words, Yan Xiangming and the others could not help but heave a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it was not DeVoe who had received other news and did not suspect them. However, their reaction did not escape Di Sudong's eyes. Suddenly, a trace of suspicion flashed across his eyes. He had never suspected these three guys before. According to Wen Tao's description, they had always been loyal and devoted to him. There was no need to suspect them at all. However, their expressions just now were too strange. It was obvious that they were guilty. Could there be a hidden story behind this matter? Di Sudong frowned. For a moment, he could not determine what the problem was. However, at that moment, hurried footsteps were heard. Then, a cultivator from the Di family quickly appeared in front of everyone. Good. Good news. The gazes of Di Wuxia and the others all landed on this cultivator. They only wanted to know what good news he had brought back. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others have already left the Fiery Flame sect and are standing outside the Fiery Flame sect. Upon hearing this, DeVouz immediately stood up, his face full of excitement. Is what you said true? Is there a mistake? I guarantee that the news is absolutely true. There is absolutely no mistake. That's great. DeVouz clapped his hands. I thought they were going to stay in the Blazing Flame school for a while. I didn't expect them to come out so soon. They really walked right into the trap. Just as DeVouz was about to rush out, Di Sudong asked again, have you figured out why they came out? In this situation, they clearly know that they will face our attacks as soon as they come out, yet they still dare to come out. Could this be a trap? DeVouz also stopped in his tracks. In the current situation, the other party's actions were indeed a little strange. Yeah, why is that? It seems that a cultivator went to look for them. Bailey Hongzhuang immediately rushed out after hearing the news. They are now standing outside the gate of Raging Flames to acknowledge each other. Second uncle, I'll go take a look. As soon as he finished speaking, DeVouz couldn't help but rush outside. He had finally caught such a good opportunity, so he definitely couldn't miss it. Otherwise, he didn't know when Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two would come out again. Today, he had suffered a loss at the hands of Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two. Now, he just wanted to get back at them as soon as possible. Otherwise, it would be too unpleasant. Chapter 4286. When DeVouz arrived outside the Blazing Flame sect, he indeed found Bailey Hongzhuang and the others chatting outside. After noticing the man beside Bailey Hongzhuang, his eyes could not help but flash with a hint of surprise. Many names quickly flashed through his mind, but after confirming that none of the young talents could match the man in front of him, he relaxed. Oh no, DeVouz is here. DeVouz's sudden appearance stunned the surrounding cultivators. They had not expected him to receive news so quickly. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had only come out for a short while, but he had already arrived. At the same time, Yan Xiangming and the other two did not delay either. They followed closely behind DeVouz and appeared here. Wan Yanhan, didn't you plan to hide in the Blazing Flame sect like cowards? Why did you run out after such a short while? DeVouz's lips curled into a ferocious and mocking smile. He looked at the four people in front of him with disdain. In his eyes, the four of them were just insignificant dregs. However, they thought that they were great after having Wu Wenfeng's protection. They actually dared to be arrogant in front of him. He had to teach them a lesson personally. Only then would they understand the difference between them. DeVouz is really well informed. We just came out, but he found us so quickly. Wan Yanhan frowned. This was not the situation they wanted to see. However, DeVouz had suddenly run over. For a moment, they did not know what to do. Although the people from the Di family are not good people, it is undeniable that they are very powerful. We are no match for them. Let's avoid them for the time being. Yi Haomiao's expression was solemn. He had already understood DeVouz's strength. Based on their current situation, they were indeed no match for DeVouz. This was not the Blazing Flame sect. There was absolutely no benefit for them to clash head-on with DeVouz. It would not be worth it if they lost their lives. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. A wise man knows better than to fight when the odds are against him. Let's go in first. Devao's strength had reached Star Radiance Stage 8. Even if the three of them worked together, wanting to deal with Devao's was extremely difficult. Moreover, Yan Xiangming and the other two were not far away. The other cultivators of the D family must be nearby as well, so there was no time to waste. Di Beichen looked at Devao's who was clamoring at the side. A cold light flashed in his dark eyes as he asked in a deep voice, "Who is he?" "It's a long story. In short, they are our opponents." Bailey Hongzhuang said, "The other party can be considered to have power and influence in the upper realm. We are no match for him." Di Beichen's eyes flashed with a contemplative light, but after thinking about it carefully, he understood that this person in front of him was probably related to the news he had heard before. "Let's go." Wanyan Han ignored Devao's mockery and immediately gestured for everyone to leave together. After noticing Wanyan Han's movements, Yan Xiangming and the others hurriedly reminded him, "Big brother Wanyan Han, they want to hide inside." Di Wuxia's eyes narrowed. His footsteps suddenly quickened as he said, "It's useless even if you hide inside. It's true that I can't attack you in the Raging Flame sect, but I can't protect this fellow." Devao's pointed at Di Beichen, who was beside Bailey Hongzhuang. "The Blazing Flame sect does have a rule that I can't attack its disciples, but this guy shouldn't be from the Blazing Flame sect, right?" Chapter 4287. As Devao's finished speaking, Yan Xiangming and the other two couldn't help but give him a thumbs up. Their faces shone with excitement. Big brother Wu Zhe is so smart. Wanyan Han and the others are at their wits' end. Judging from the closeness between that man and Bailey Hongzhuang, he's most likely her lover. As long as we kill this man, Wanyan Han and the others won't be able to hold back. If they take the initiative to attack Big Brother Wu Zhe, then it won't be a problem for Big Brother Wu Zhe to take action. At the same time, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others' expressions couldn't help but become unsightly. They really hadn't expected this to happen. It could only be said that Devao's and the others were too fast and didn't give them any time to recover. "What should we do? I'm afraid it's too late to find Steward Wu now." Yi Haomiao looked anxious. "If they take action, we..." Once Devao's and the others took action, Di Beichen's life would definitely be in danger if they didn't take action. However, if they took action, they wouldn't be a match for Devao's either. Based on the current situation, victory was completely in Devao's hands. Bailey Hongzhuang's heart was also complicated. Previously, she had been immersed in the joy of reuniting with Di Beichen and had temporarily forgotten about these annoying fellows from the Di family. Now that these annoying fellows had appeared again, it was indeed somewhat troublesome. Wanyan Han's expression was also unsightly. Bailey Hongzhuang had finally reunited with Di Beichen after much difficulty. At this time, no danger could be allowed to occur. Otherwise, he would be letting Bailey Hongzhuang down. "Beichen, let's run first." Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Beichen and gave him a meaningful glance. Di Beichen already understood her meaning. As long as they escaped a certain distance, they could directly escape into the Chaos Ring. In this way, the other party naturally wouldn't be able to find them. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's worried expression, Di Beichen nodded slightly. "Okay. Senior brother, Beichen and I will run out first. You guys go back to the Raging Flames sect first. Don't worry about us." Bailey Hongzhuang spoke up. Hearing this, Wanyan couldn't help but be stunned. He then shook his head nervously and said, "How can we do that? The two of you are really too dangerous." "Don't worry, we'll be fine." After saying that, Di Beichen's eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. "Di's up, of, he." Out TSS He's T.S. was undoubtedly SSS. As long as he captured D. Bachin, they wouldn't have to be afraid that he wouldn't capture them. Hence, after noticing Bailey Hongzhuang's SSSS, DeVos immediately rushed towards them. Trying to run. DeVos stood in front of Bailey Hongzhuang and D. Bachin. No way. Yan Xiangming and the other two immediately rushed over and blocked Bailey Hongzhuang's escape route. DeVos, what are you trying to do? Bailey Hongzhuang asked coldly. It would be fine if this guy came looking for trouble with her. Now that Bachin had finally returned, he actually came looking for trouble with Bachin. Anger surged in her heart. Chapter 4288. This time, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others are going to be miserable. DeVos will definitely kill them. Oh my God, is such a handsome man going to die soon? He was completely implicated by Bailey Hongzhuang. It bodes ill rather than well. DeVos is much stronger than Di Wentao. Who asked this man to come at the wrong time and fall into this trouble? The surrounding practitioners looked at Di Bachin with sympathy. Some of the men originally looked at Di Bachin with displeasure, but now that they knew that Di Bachin was going to die soon, they sympathized with this short-lived guy. Wan Yanhan and Yi Haomiao also stopped after seeing this scene. They were afraid that today's fight was unavoidable. However, even if they had to risk their lives, they had to help Di Bachin escape. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at DeVos coldly. We only destroyed Di Wentao's cultivation. He didn't die at our hands. Do you understand the real situation? Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, DeVos was slightly stunned. He unconsciously frowned. Didn't Wentao die at your hands? Hey, if you say that we destroyed Di Wentao's cultivation, I'll admit it. But if you say that he died at our hands, we won't admit it. Yi Haomiao hurriedly said, at that time, it was in public. There were many people who saw the whole thing clearly. Everyone can testify that we didn't kill him. However, as for how he died, you have to ask Yan Xiangming and the others behind you how he died. As far as I know, after they brought Di Wentao back, Di Wentao died that night. They should be the ones who know the situation best. As soon as Bailey Hongzhuang opened her mouth, Yan Xiangming and the other two felt that something was wrong. Then, Yi Haomiao explained the whole sequence of events. The three of them couldn't help but turn pale, because they could clearly feel Di Wuxia's eyes as he turned to look at them with a trace of ruthlessness. Didn't you say that Wentao was killed by them? What's the situation now? Wentao died because of them. Yan Xiangming hurriedly said, after they crippled Wentao's cultivation, Wentao felt very uncomfortable. Later that night, Wentao couldn't take the blow and vomited blood and died. Big brother Wuxia, believe me. Everything I said is true. I'm definitely not lying to you. Yan Xiangming looked nervous and his eyes were filled with hope. He only hoped that DeVos would believe him. If DeVos didn't believe him, then he would definitely have a hard time. However, DeVos only glanced at him coldly and did not say anything. He was no fool. In fact, when he heard the news of Wentao's death, he was extremely shocked. All along, he had thought that it was Wan Yanhan and the others who crippled Wentao's cultivation and killed him after humiliating him. This kind of humiliation was simply abominable to the extreme. However, now that he had figured out the specific situation, it had become very strange. If it was only the Dantian that was crippled, it was impossible for him to lose his life. However, Di Wentao had died just like that. There must be something fishy about this. When I get back, I'll deal with you all. DeVos spat fiercely. Then, he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and the others again, no matter what, Wentao's death is related to you all. You must pay the price. Chapter 4289. No matter what, all of you must die today. Devouz said angrily. His mood was even worse than before. He had always believed in Yan Xiangming and the other two, so much so that he didn't have any doubts after coming here. Now that he was being questioned in front of everyone, it was undoubtedly a loss of face. It turned out that he still hadn't figured out the real process of Wen Tao's death. Speaking of which, it was these annoying fellows who had deliberately deceived them. This guy is really domineering. Di Beichen's gaze was ice-cold. Although he didn't understand the ins and outs of this matter, after listening to the conversation just now, he was somewhat clear about it. You haven't seen my true domineering appearance yet. Devouz's face was ashen. He was already burning with anger and only wanted to find someone to calm his anger. He immediately turned his target to Di Beichen. This guy was only from the lower realm, but his bearing was even more outstanding than his. It was really hateful. Die. As soon as these words came out, Devouz's aura of a rank 8-star Radiance Realm cultivator instantly burst out. That tyrannical aura shocked everyone present. Just by feeling this aura, one could tell how strong Devouz was. At least, the majority of the cultivators present were not his match. Di Beichen. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but cry out. A rank 8-star Radiance Realm cultivator's speed was even more powerful. In almost the blink of an eye, the attack had already arrived. Wan Yanhan and Yi Haomiao were also shocked. Devouz's attack was really too unexpected. Even if they wanted to block a bit, it was too late. Devouz's eyes flashed with raging anger. He wanted to kill everyone in front of him to avenge Wen Tao. Facing Devouz's aggressive attack, Di Beichen's gaze turned cold. He punched out and met the opponent's fist. Bang! A muffled sound was heard, and a tyrannical qi swept out like a gale. Everyone in the surroundings could feel the qi that spread out in all directions. It was simply terrifying. However, at this moment, almost everyone's eyes were focused on Di Beichen's fist, and their eyes flashed with a thick color of astonishment. He blocked it. He actually blocked it. Everyone was stunned and looked at Di Beichen in astonishment. They simply couldn't believe that Di Beichen was able to block Devouz's attack. How is this possible? Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. No one would have thought that this young man who was as handsome as an immortal would have such a powerful cultivation. Wan Yanhan and Yi Haomiao were also dumbfounded. According to the information they had gathered, Di Beichen had only just arrived in the upper realm. Could it be that his cultivation had already reached such a level? Wasn't this a little too frightening? Devouz was also dumbfounded at this moment. His dilated eyes showed the shock in his heart. This fellow in front of him looked much younger than him. How could his cultivation have reached such a level? In the exchange just now, he had clearly sensed that his opponent's power was not any weaker than his own. Bailey Hongzhuang was also astonished. However, she quickly understood the problem. It seems that Di Beichen's harvest in the ruins was not small. In such a short period of time, his power had increased by so much. However, when she thought about how powerful the ruins were, she felt that all of this was reasonable. Chapter 4290. Wow, I didn't expect this man to be so powerful. He's so handsome and powerful in battle. I'm so envious of him. How could such a good man be snatched away by Bailey Hongzhuang? We really can't underestimate the cultivators from the lower realm now. Each of them seems to be more powerful than the last. Initially, Bailey Hongzhuang and Wan Yanhan's performance had made everyone start to take the cultivators from the lower realm seriously. Now that Di Beichen had appeared, they could not help but feel even more strongly about it. In the past, the possibility of a cultivator from the lower realm wanting to stand out here was almost pitifully small. However, the situation now seems to have changed. Master, Beichen's aura has also become very powerful. Xiao Hei's eyes flashed with amazement. Previously, Beichen had not made a move, so they had not noticed this. Furthermore, after meeting Beichen, there were too many things that they wanted to know, so they did not ask about this at all. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. Her clear black and white eyes rippled with a joyful luster. It's only been a short time since we last met and Beichen has become so powerful. That's great. Beichen is so powerful. This means that we don't have to fear devours anymore. Xiao Bai could not help but sigh in relief. He was really worried about the situation before. He did not expect Beichen to be able to completely resist devours. Devours retracted his hand and stared gloomily at Beichen. He had really underestimated this guy. Since you've also reached this level of cultivation, why are you still running away? Are you deliberately playing with me? He was now in an extremely bad mood. He had wanted to use this opportunity to show off his abilities, but he did not expect the other party to pretend to be a pig to eat a tiger. Instead, he had become a joke in front of everyone. One could imagine how gloomy he was feeling. Originally, he wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to show off and let everyone know how powerful he was. Unexpectedly, not only did he fail to achieve such an effect, but he also let Beichen step on his head to show off. I'm willing, do you have a problem with that? Beichen's expression was mild and indifferent, as if he didn't care about devours at all. However, after seeing Beichen's arrogant look, devours had other thoughts in his mind. No matter how he looked at it, this guy in front of him did not look like an ordinary person. Logically speaking, if he was really a cultivator from the lower realm who had just arrived, there was no reason for him to be so arrogant in such a situation. However, Beichen was arrogant and full of confidence. He couldn't help but suspect that this fellow wasn't a cultivator from the lower realm at all. It was impossible for such a powerful cultivator to appear in the lower realms. Tell me honestly, which family are you from? Devours asked aloud. He couldn't rashly offend some extremely powerful opponents, it would not be good for his entire family. Listening to Devour's words, Bailey Hongzhuang and others were all surprised. They did not expect this guy to suddenly say such a thing. However, after they reacted, everyone only felt extremely funny. Obviously, Beichen's strength gave the other party a wrong impression. I just came to the upper realm for the first time. Beichen said coldly. Chapter 4291. Please enter the text. Looking at Devour's confident expression, Wanyan Han and the others found it funny. They didn't expect that Beichen would make Devour have such an illusion. However, they didn't find it strange. In fact, if they didn't know that Beichen was a cultivator from the lower realm like them, it would be hard to imagine that Beichen was from the lower realm. Thinking of this, Wanyan Han couldn't help but look at Bailey Hongzhuang. In fact, he had the same feeling when he saw Bailey Hongzhuang. It's up to you to believe it or not. Beichen glanced at Devours lazily. He didn't know why this guy would think of this question out of nowhere. Devours looked at Beichen suspiciously. Thousands of thoughts were running through his mind. Could it be that he was mistaken? That shouldn't be, Devours was puzzled. The cultivation resources in the lower realm were far inferior to those in the upper realm. Wasn't it too shocking that Beichen could cultivate to such a level at such a young age in the lower realm? However, after thinking about it carefully, if Beichen was from the upper realm, there was no need for him to lie to him. After all, if he had a background, all he had to do was mention it. Why did he have to go through so much trouble? After understanding this point, Wuxia also felt that he had lost face. Thinking about how he had just vowed that Beichen must have a background to protect him, now the situation was really shameful. However, the current situation put him in a difficult position. He could only hope that the cultivators from the D family would arrive soon. Although he had only exchanged one move with D Beichen, he found that D Beichen was very strong. At least, he didn't have the upper hand in the previous move. Once the two of them fought, he couldn't guarantee that he would win. On the contrary, if he lost, he would really be treated as a stepping stone by D Beichen. He would lose face, and D Beichen would be in the limelight. Devouz wouldn't do such a thing. As Devouz stopped attacking, the atmosphere suddenly became strange again. Why did Devouz suddenly stop attacking? Could it be that he's no match for D Beichen, so he chose to stop? Devouz is much older than D Beichen, but he's still no match for him. How talented is D Beichen's cultivation? The crowd couldn't help but exclaim. Previously, they thought that it was already very difficult for D Beichen to block Devouz's attack. However, based on the current situation, it seemed that they had underestimated D Beichen. Fortunately, the situation was just as D Wuxia had expected. He'd only stopped for a short while when the figures of D Sudong and the others appeared not too far behind him. When D Sudong and the others came down, they saw Bailey Hongzhuang and the others outside the gate of the Fiery Flames sect. Devouz seemed to be in a deadlock with them. Seeing this, D Sudong couldn't help but frown. There was some confusion in his expression. Wuxia, what happened? Logically speaking, given Devouz's strength, he should be able to defeat the other party. It was precisely because of this that he had come out late. After all, the conflicts between the younger generation should be left to the younger generation to resolve themselves. It would be troublesome for the elders to go and win with an unfair advantage. Chapter 4292. After D Sudong walked to Devouz's side, he lowered his voice and said, "Second uncle, this person's strength is on par with mine." D Sudong was slightly stunned when he heard this. When he looked at D Beichen again, his expression was somewhat surprised. Who is he? He seems to be this lady's lover, but I think he just came up from the lower realm. At this point, Devouz's expression did not look too good. After all, he was a cultivator from the upper realm with a considerable family background. It was awkward that his strength was on par with a cultivator from the lower realm. Just came up from the lower realm? D Sudong raised his eyebrows. In that case, he shouldn't be a disciple of the Blazing Flames sect, right? Devouz nodded slightly. Definitely not. If D Beichen was also a disciple of the Blazing Flames sect, Bailey Hongzhuang would not have thought of escaping with him just now. Then it's easy. D Sudong's gaze turned sinister. He immediately called out to the cultivators behind him and said, "Kill this fellow." As soon as D Sudong finished speaking, a few D family disciples behind him immediately stepped forward and targeted D Beichen. Their killing intent surged rapidly. Upon seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could not help but tense. They had not expected D Sudong to make such a decision. There are so many of you. Isn't this an unfair victory? Yi Haomiao said angrily. The D family had come this time to avenge D Wentao, so the cultivators who came here were not weak. D Beichen could deal with Devouz, but with so many people attacking together, D Beichen was definitely no match for them. So what? Devouz did not care. To him, it was enough as long as he could kill these guys to avenge himself and D Wentao. D Beichen looked coldly at the D family members in front of him. He understood that these guys were very difficult to deal with. It seemed that his wife had spent a lot of effort to deal with these guys. It was just that his appearance had given the other party an opportunity. In the next moment, everyone saw D Beichen's figure flicker and appear behind Devouz like a ghost. By the time Devouz reacted, D Beichen's sword was already at his neck. Devouz's face immediately turned pale, and his expression was filled with panic. "You, what are you doing?" Di Sudong and the others were also stunned. No one thought that Di Beichen's actions would be so fast, taking advantage of the time when they weren't paying attention in directly taking Di Wuze hostage. When Bailey Hongzhuang and the others saw Di Beichen's swift technique, they all praised him in their hearts. Originally, they were at a complete disadvantage, but now, they had the initiative in their own hands. This was simply too good. Beichen, well done. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a faint smile, her dark and bright eyes sparkling with appreciation and excitement. To catch bandits, first catch the ringleader. Although DeVos was not the ringleader, he was still a very important person in the D family's team. As long as DeVos was in their hands, the D family would not dare to act rashly. Let go of me. DeVos struggled, his expression extremely ugly. He had wanted to use this opportunity to teach Di Beichen a lesson, but he had not expected to fall into Di Beichen's hands. How could he still have any face left? Chapter 4293. Please enter the text. Just as DeVos was struggling in disbelief, Di Beichen's sharp sword had unceremoniously cut through his skin and fresh blood flowed out. Feeling the pain in his neck, DeVos' face flashed with a trace of fear. He never thought that Di Beichen would actually dare to do this. Di Sudong and the rest did not dare to act rashly at this moment. They immediately stopped their movements and said, "Let's talk things over. Put down your weapon first." Hearing the other party's words, Di Beichen's lips could not help but curl into a mocking smile. "If I put down my sword, I'm afraid that you won't have such a good attitude, right? Cut the crap. What do you want us to do so that we can let DeVos go? Since you like to cause trouble so much, why don't I just kill him? Even if I die, there will be someone to take the fall with me." Di Beichen's gaze was as cold as a sharp sword. Looking at DeVos, his gaze was filled with murderous intent. This damned guy, how dare he target his wife? Don't. DeVos raised his hands, his face filled with fear. "Brother, let's talk things over. Don't be rash." He was young and had a bright future ahead of him. He did not want to lose his little life like this. Bailey Hongzhuang took the opportunity to pry open DeVos' mouth and put a pill in. Gulp. Before DeVos could react to what it was, he had already swallowed it. Instantly, his face became even more unsightly. "You. What did you feed me?" "Nothing." Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged, "It's just poison." As soon as these words came out, DeVos' face became extremely unsightly. He immediately wanted to spit it out, but found that the pill melted in his mouth and could not be spitted out at all. You actually poisoned me." DeVos looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in disbelief. He had never imagined that this fellow would actually do such a thing. "There are so many people from the D family surrounding us. If I don't do this, how can I guarantee our safety?" Bailey Hongzhuang's long, shapely eyebrows raised slightly. Her expression was indifferent, as if her actions were perfectly normal. DeVos looked at Bailey Hongzhuang, who had a cunning expression. His heart was filled with regret. He should have realized that this woman was not simple, but it was too late now. "Bailey Hongzhuang, how dare you?" Di Sudong looked at Bailey Hongzhuang angrily. He did not expect that his negligence would allow Bailey Hongzhuang to grasp such a big loophole. His face was also ugly. Di Wentao was already dead. If something happened to Di Wuze, then he would really be too ashamed to return to the Di family. "Old man, don't frighten me." Bailey Hongzhuang looked coldly at Di Sudong. "I can't stand being frightened. If you scare me, I'll forget what poison I've given him and won't be able to find the antidote. That won't be good." When the D family's cultivators saw Bailey Hongzhuang's arrogant look, they could not help but say, "So what if you've poisoned him? Do you think our D family can't detoxify the poison you've given him? Don't say that I'm looking down on you. This poison. You really can't detoxify it." Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled up slightly. "This is a unique poison that I bought with a lot of money in the past. An ordinary antidote will not work at all. However, if you don't believe me, then feel free to try it." Bailey Hongzhuang signaled Di Beichen with her eyes. Di Beichen then released DeVouse. Bang! Chapter 4294. Please enter the text. Although he had regained his freedom, DeVouse was not happy because his mind was full of the poison that Bailey Hongzhuang had given him. He did not know what kind of poison it was, but he had a bad feeling when he saw Bailey Hongzhuang's confident look. "Wu Zhe, take this antidote first." Di Sudong obviously did not believe Bailey Hongzhuang's words and immediately handed a detoxification pill to DeVouse. DeVouse swallowed it without hesitation. Wan Yanhan and the others could not help but feel nervous when they saw this scene. They did not know what kind of poison Bailey Hongzhuang had given them. If it was detoxified just like that, their original advantage would be gone. However, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked indifferent. Obviously, they were not worried that DeVouse could detoxify the poison at all. Di Beichen was very familiar with Bailey Hongzhuang's medical and poison skills. Although they were in the lower realm previously, he believed that Bailey Hongzhuang's poison skills were still outstanding even in the upper realm. After DeVouse took the detoxification pill, he felt relieved. Their family's detoxification pill was also very effective. Ordinary poisons were not effective at all. However, after seeing Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen's nonchalant look, he still felt a little nervous. "Wu Zhe, how are you feeling?" Di Sudong looked at DeVouse with concern. No matter what, he could not let anything happen to DeVouse. DeVouse thought carefully for a moment. He could not tell what his situation was at that moment. "Second uncle, this. I'm not sure." Hearing DeVouse's words, Di Sudong and the others seemed helpless, but they knew that he was not lying. After all, Bailey Hongzhuang's poison did not take effect, and DeVouse was not a doctor. Naturally, he did not know what was going on. "Bailey Hongzhuang, I've cured you of the poison." DeVouse looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. He did not believe that a cultivator from the lower realm would be able to come up with such a powerful poison. The alchemy techniques of the upper realm were much more powerful than those of the lower realm. It would not be a problem for them to detoxify the poison. Seeing DeVouse' smug expression, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but sneer, "Look at your wrist and see if it's blue. My poison isn't that easy to detoxify." Hearing this, DeVouse hurriedly rolled up his sleeves and looked at his wrist. His face couldn't help but change. As expected, there was a faint green color around his wrist. He had never noticed that there was such a green color around his wrist. He was afraid that this was really Bailey Hongzhuang's doing. Di Sudong noticed the change in DeVouse's expression and couldn't help but pull his hand over. His expression changed as well. When he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang again, his gaze became even fiercer. "Bailey Hongzhuang, hand over the antidote." "Do I have to hand it over just because you want me to?" Bailey Hongzhuang sneered, "In your dreams. If you don't hand over the antidote, I'll kill all of you. If you kill us, you'll never be able to get the antidote in this lifetime. DeVouse will have to die." Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. "Of course, if you want DeVouse to die, you can give it a try." Chapter 4295. Please enter the text. Di Sudong sighed when he saw this. He could not understand how they had ended up being held hostage by the other party when they clearly had the upper hand. Then what do you want to do? Di Sudong stared coldly at Bailey Hongzhuang. He had originally thought that Wan Yanhan was the leader of the team and had placed all his attention on him. It was only now that he realized that this woman was not easy to deal with. She had actually turned the situation around. How hateful. It's very simple. As long as you promise not to cause trouble for us in the future and give me 50,000 spirit stones, that will do. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was calm. The golden sunlight shone on her face, making her delicate and pretty face appear charming and charming. However, when the crowd heard Bailey Hongzhuang's exorbitant demand, they could not help but be dumbfounded. 50,000 spirit stones. This Bailey Hongzhuang's list is really not small. 50,000 spirit stones, that's not a small number. I'm afraid that the Di family will be angered to death by Bailey Hongzhuang. She asked for so many spirit stones. If they agree, where will the Di family put their face? When Di Sudong heard Bailey Hongzhuang's words, his expression became increasingly gloomy. Little girl, don't go overboard. Overboard? Bailey Hongzhuang laughed softly. No matter how overboard I am, can I be more overboard than you? The grudge between Di Wentao and my senior brother is between the two of them. Your Di family is rather interesting. The younger one has lost and the older one has run out. According to your logic, if my senior brother and Di Wentao were to fight one-on-one, would it be one-on-one against him or your entire family? If you want to talk about going overboard, I don't think anyone is more overboard than you, right? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flickered with disgust and disdain. The other party's method was very unreasonable. As expected, when Bailey Hongzhuang finished speaking, the surrounding cultivators could not help but nod their heads. Speaking of which, the problem between Di Wentao and Wan Yanhan should be resolved by themselves. Moreover, everyone was clear that it had always been Di Wentao who took the initiative to find trouble with Wan Yanhan. Wan Yanhan had been avoiding him all along. It was only in the end that he had no choice but to make a move. He had never expected that a group of cultivators from the Di family would rush over right after he had gotten rid of Di Wentao. This was equivalent to provoking the other party's entire family. According to the Di family's way of doing things, no one dared to provoke the Di family. However, in this way, they could only be bullied by the Di family. To be honest, everyone was somewhat dissatisfied. After Di Sudong and the others heard this, they also felt embarrassed. If the young one couldn't do it, the old one would step in. Overall, they were indeed unreasonable. So what? You killed my brother, so it's only right that we avenge him. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame yourselves for having no background. Even if you die, no one will avenge you. This is a very normal thing in the upper realm. So, it's normal for me to blackmail you now. Think about it yourselves. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was cold. She really could not be bothered to talk nonsense with this idiot DeVos. If you agree, I can give you the antidote. Otherwise, we'll fight to the death. Anyway, we have nothing to lose. At most, we only have one life. It's not bad to have you as a scapegoat. Chapter 4296. Di Sudong looked at Bailey Hongzhuang angrily. He really wanted to arrest Bailey Hongzhuang and the others directly. This guy thought that he had caught their weakness and was proud of himself. This feeling of being pinched by the other party really made him feel very unhappy. Do it. Capture all of them. I don't believe that we can't find the antidote. Di Sudong said angrily. He had been angered by Bailey Hongzhuang time and time again, so he was no longer clear-headed. The essence energy in Di Baichen's body surged instantly. His black eyes were as deep as the sea and filled with surging killing intent. At that moment, Wu Wenfeng walked out of the Blazing Flame sect. He sighed helplessly when he saw the confrontation in front of him. He had already expected that the D family would not let the matter rest, but he had not expected them to confront each other so quickly. What's going on? Wu Wenfeng walked over to Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. His eyes darted back and forth between Bailey Hongzhuang and the D family, obviously trying to figure out what had happened. Steward Wu, the D family is here to cause trouble, Wanyan Han could not help but say. Wu Wenfeng frowned slightly and looked at Di Sudong. Brother Di, I think that I have already made myself very clear. Are you determined to become enemies with the Blazing Flame sect? He had already been very unhappy with Devao's attitude previously. He felt that the D family thought highly of themselves and did not even care about the Blazing Flame sect. Now that they were actually causing trouble outside the Blazing Flame sect, one could imagine how unhappy he was. Di Sudong was also unhappy when he heard Wu Wenfeng's words. He felt that Wu Wenfeng was really using a chicken feather as a token of authority and thought that he was a big shot in the Blazing Flame sect. However, no matter how unhappy he was, he could only suppress all of this at the moment. Steward Wu, it's not what you think it is. However, it's good that you're here. Bailey Hongzhuang of the Raging Flames sect poisoned Wu Zhe and even tried to blackmail us. I think you should deal with this matter properly. Di Sudong's face did not look good. Originally, he did not know how to deal with this matter. Now that Wu Wenfeng had come, it was an opportunity to solve the problem. Hearing Di Sudong's words, Wu Wenfeng was slightly stunned, and his eyes revealed some surprise. Poison? Is this true? Wu Wenfeng turned to look at Bailey Hongzhuang and asked. Yes. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. The D family intended to gang up on us. I had no choice but to do so. Wanyan Han also said, the situation just now was very dangerous. If it wasn't for junior sister's actions, I'm afraid we would all be dead now. Di Sudong and the others' expressions changed slightly, but they did not refute. After all, everyone had witnessed the development of the situation. There was no point in denying it. Wu Wenfeng was also a smart person. He sized up the situation before him and understood what had happened. Brother Di, they are all disciples of the Blazing Flame sect. The Blazing Flame sect is responsible for their safety. I hope that on account of our past relationship, you will not cause trouble here. Otherwise, if this continues, both sides will not be happy. Chapter 4297. Logically speaking, this was still within the Fiery Inferno sect's jurisdiction. If the other party could not wait to make a move, wouldn't it be a slap to the Fiery Inferno sect's face? Steward Wu, this matter is not as you described, Di Sudong immediately explained. Bailey Hongzhuang had a bad premonition when she noticed Di Sudong's gaze on Di Beichen. When Di Sudong opened his mouth, she sighed inwardly. He was indeed a sly old fox. Steward Wu, I know that Wanyan Han and the other two are from the Fiery Inferno sect. Even if I am unhappy with them, I would not choose to attack them at the Fiery Inferno sect's gates. However, the D family's target is this man in white. It's just that when we attacked this man, the three of them participated in the battle themselves. In all fairness, this matter should not be our problem, right? Or, is this man in white also a disciple of the Fiery Inferno sect? Di Sudong's face rippled with a faint smile, but his eyes were filled with a hidden sharpness. No matter what, as long as Di Beichen was not a disciple of the Fiery Inferno sect, they were in the right. As expected, Wu Wenfeng's expression became complicated when he heard Di Sudong's words. In fact, he had already noticed Di Beichen when he had just come out. It was hard to ignore such an outstanding man. However, he did not overlook the closeness between Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen. In his heart, he had already guessed that the other party's relationship with Bailey Hongzhuang was definitely not simple. In the face of Di Sudong's questioning, Wu Wenfeng's mind raced. He had not expected the situation to suddenly turn out this way. If he said that Di Beichen was not a disciple of the fiery Inferno sect, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest would not sit idly by as long as Di Beichen and the rest still decided to attack Di Beichen. If he said that Di Beichen was a disciple of the fiery Inferno sect, no matter how one looked at it, it would seem a little far-fetched. The Di family would also find it difficult to accept his explanation. Then, it would be tantamount to completely falling out between the two sides. It had not been easy for him to recruit Bailey Hongzhuang. An inscription master was very valuable to the fiery Inferno sect, so he had to protect her. Therefore, how should he answer this question? The eyes of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others also fell on Wu Wenfeng's face. They just wanted to know what decision Wu Wenfeng would make. Di Sudong and the others were also in the same state. Under such circumstances, they did not believe that Wu Wenfeng could still say such words. While Wu Wenfeng's to the Inferno sects the family sects its so livelies. There was a faint smile on Cheng Zhonghao's face as he walked calmly and easily towards Wu Wenfeng and the others. His eyes were looking at Bailey Hongzhuang with interest. Although he had been rejected by Bailey Hongzhuang earlier, he had arranged for people to keep an eye on the place. As long as there was any movement, they would immediately report to him. He had never thought that such a lively scene would occur. How interesting. He studied Bailey Hongzhuang curiously. Ever since he knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was an inscription master, he had always wanted to meet this extremely young inscription master, but he had never had the chance. Wu Wenfeng clearly treated Bailey Hongzhuang as a treasure. He had covered her up and did not want anyone to see her at all. Chapter 4298. After Wu Wenfeng saw Cheng Zhonghao, his face stiffened slightly. Cheng Zhonghao was definitely one of the people he didn't want to see. Sure enough, since Cheng Zhonghao arrived, he found that Cheng Zhonghao's eyes had been fixed on Bailey Hongzhuang. Obviously, he had found out Bailey Hongzhuang's identity. Compared to Wu Wenfeng's worry, Di Sudong and the others smiled happily after seeing Cheng Zhonghao. In their opinion, Cheng Zhonghao was on the same side as them. Master Cheng, you're here. Cheng Zhonghao smiled and nodded. Yes, I happened to pass by and noticed that something seemed to have happened here, so I came to take a look. I didn't expect it to be you guys. Listening to Cheng Zhonghao's words, Wu Wenfeng cursed in his heart. This guy definitely rushed over after hearing the news. What did he mean by passing by? It was impossible. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but look at Cheng Zhonghao. She had heard of the only inscription master in Rome and city many times. Previously, someone had informed her that Cheng Zhonghao wanted to see her, but she refused. She didn't expect to see Cheng Zhonghao in the end. I wonder if this is the owner of that inscription. Cheng Zhonghao looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a smile, but his question was directed at Wu Wenfeng. Obviously, only he and Wu Wenfeng knew about that matter. Hearing this, Wu Wenfeng's thoughts were really complicated. The previous troublesome matter hadn't been solved, and now there was another big trouble. It really made him restless. At the same time, Bailey Hongzhuang understood a bit in her heart. The inscription that Cheng Zhonghao mentioned was probably the one that Steward Wu had taken out to appraise. However, after noticing the complicated expression on Wu Wenfeng's face, she understood what was going on. That's right. Wu Wenfeng nodded. At this point, it was useless for him to hide it. From Cheng Zhonghao's performance, it could be seen that he had already confirmed this fact. Even if he didn't admit it, Cheng Zhonghao would find ways to confirm it himself. The smile on Cheng Zhonghao's lips gradually widened, and his gaze towards Bailey Hongzhuang became brighter and brighter. He had guessed correctly, the inscription was actually created by such a young girl. This news was too hard to believe. It seemed that this young woman had an incredible master behind her. To be able to have such attainments in inscriptions at such a young age, one could see how amazing he was. He had to befriend her. If he could obtain the inscription pattern technique from her, that would be great. I didn't expect that young lady would have such attainments in the inscription technique at such a young age. I'm impressed. I wonder if I have the honor of befriending you. Cheng Zhonghao's every move was refined and courteous, and his gaze was sincere and serious. It was as if he treated Bailey Hongzhuang as someone of equal weight and not just a junior. Wu Wenfeng and Bailey Hongzhuang understood why Cheng Zhonghao had such an attitude. However, the other cultivators and the D family members present could not help but be dumbfounded when they saw this scene. Oh my God, am I seeing things? Master Cheng actually has such an attitude towards Bailey Hongzhuang. Chapter 4299. When Wan Yen Han used that inscription pattern, I already noticed its power. Now it seems that the level of that inscription pattern is definitely not low. The cultivators of the Raging Flames sect suddenly understood everything at this moment. No wonder Steward Wu would still recruit Bailey Hongzhuang under such circumstances. It was because of her inscription technique. Previously, everyone thought that since Bailey Hongzhuang was so young, even if she had mastered the inscription technique, her attainment in the inscription technique would not be strong. Now that Cheng Zhonghao had appeared, everyone understood that her inscription technique was definitely not simple. This was because there were originally many young inscriptionists in Rongpen City. These people were all trying their best to squeeze into Cheng Zhonghao's line of sight, wanting to learn from him. However, it was extremely difficult to be accepted as a disciple by Cheng Zhonghao. As for the situation where Cheng Zhonghao took the initiative to look for her, it was even more unheard of. Di Sudong and the rest could not help but be dumbfounded after seeing this scene. They originally thought that Cheng Zhonghao was on their side and that he was targeting Wu Wenfeng. However, from the current situation, it seemed that the one that Cheng Zhonghao was interested in was Bailey Hongzhuang. According to this development, Cheng Zhonghao obviously wanted to extend an olive branch to Bailey Hongzhuang. In this way, besides Wu Wenfeng, wouldn't there be another force protecting Bailey Hongzhuang? Second uncle, what's the situation? DeVos also realized that the situation was a little strange at this moment and could not help but look at Di Sudong. Di Sudong's face was ugly, and he couldn't help but sigh in his heart that Cheng Zhonghao was really an old fox. All the previous words were actually just to get information from their mouths, so as to determine whether Bailey Hongzhuang was the person he was looking for. As for the rest of the situation, it was completely their own imagination. From the beginning to the end, Cheng Zhonghao had never explicitly said that he had a grudge with Wu Wenfeng, but the meaning he had shown before was obviously so. Master Cheng. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. If there's a chance, I'm naturally willing to befriend Grandmaster. But in the current situation, I'm afraid, Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't stupid. Although she didn't have any feelings for Master Cheng, she knew that this was a great opportunity to help them. It seemed that their current predicament could be resolved. Wan Yen Han and Yi Haomiao couldn't help but look at each other. They couldn't understand why this rarely seen Master Cheng would suddenly get involved in this matter. However, it didn't seem to be a bad thing. Don't worry, Miss Bailey. With me around, this won't be a problem. Cheng Zhonghao's expression was calm and certain. To him, there was nothing more important than improving his inscription technique. Although the D family was not a small force, he had nothing to fear in Rongpen City. If he wanted to protect someone, the D family wouldn't dare to say anything. Di Sudong frowned. Cheng Zhonghao's attitude was already very obvious in his words. However, he didn't expect the situation to suddenly be out of their control. At this moment, they had become the people with the least right to speak. Wu Wenfeng's heart also tightened. He knew Cheng Zhonghao's style of doing things very well. This guy obviously wanted to recruit Bailey Hongzhuang to his side. How could this be? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.